Dr. Umar, man. Happy to have you back. It's been a while, man. I mean, I haven't had you on here in a while, man.
Yes, sir. Peace and Pan Africanism has been 6 months. Christmas Day would make 6 months.
Yeah, man. It's been forever, man, since me and you did an interview. But we here now. It's a lot I want to ask you and get your take on. Nicki Minaj. How you feel about the backlash she getting right now?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Nicki Minaj, I have always felt, in my opinion, is one of the most lyrically gifted female hip hop artists that we've had this century. Very talented artist. As you know, she used to date Meek Mill at one point, and he's a phenomenal artist. And her lyrics were not far behind his in terms of quality. So she's a very talented artist, very talented musician, a very beautiful woman. When I saw her interview with Erica Kirk, Charlie Kirk's widow, it almost blew my mind because I was not aware that she had joined the Donald Trump bandwagon. So this past Sunday, December the 21st, she was in Phoenix, Arizona. It was Turning Point's USA Amerifest conference. So this is the conservative think tank, foundation, organization, and movement that Charlie Kirk helped to co-found. So she was interviewed by his widow, Erica Kirk, for about 30 minutes. And some of the stuff that Nicki Minaj said out of her mouth left me flabbergasted. She said things like Donald Trump and JD Vance were heroes, that they were role models for our children. She said that when they speak, she can tell that they're speaking for us, that they make us feel proud to be American. She said that they have given us a chance to beat the bad guys and win. She also said something to the effect that really bothered me. Nicki Minaj said, it's not just that, and I'm paraphrasing, I want to try to get it correct, but she said something to the effect that it's not just that we tell black children to feel proud of themselves, but it's like we're doing that. And at the same time, we're telling other children not to feel proud of themselves. And so I guess she was alluding to this false narrative that the conservatives are putting out there, that teaching black children black history and teaching white children the true history of America is somehow going to make white children feel bad about themselves. That bothered me because she's a black woman, or at least I thought she was. She clearly has black children. So are you saying you don't mind your children growing up in a society where they cannot be taught black history or the true history of America because some people feel it offends the self-esteem of white children? And this is so hypocritical, Art, because we've been in America 400 years at least under British North American control. And look at how the self-esteem and self-worth and self-value of black children has been and continues to be compromised for the benefit of the white child. And yet you're telling me that to implement a curriculum of corrective history where you're not insulting white people, you're not denigrating white people, you're simply making sure white children understand that the foundation of this country was laid and built and cemented on the genocide of Native Americans and the enslavement of African people. And not just the enslavement of African people, the dehumanization of African people. What a lot of people don't get, Art, is that although the United States of America was somewhat late to the international slave trade, even though they joined it rather late, the Portuguese had already been in it. The Swedes had already been in it. The British had already been in it. The Roman Catholic Church had already been in it. America was kind of late to the party. But once America got involved in the transatlantic slave trade, what we call the Ma'afa in African culture and in the conscious community, the Ma'afa, even though America was late, America would soon dominate the transatlantic slave trade. I don't think people understand, Art. Many of the streets and back roads of America were created so that they could traffic black people during the domestic slave trade. A lot of people don't understand that. When you see these small streets in front of big streets and all of your 13 colonies and subsequent states that joined the Union as slave territories, those small states, those small streets, Art, in back of the large streets were created so you could sneak the slaves in the alleyway and traffic them in the alley and sell them in the alleyway. So, for example, we're in Philadelphia. In Philadelphia, you have Market Street, you have Broad Street. Those are your two major streets. You also have other major streets, but you have a lot of small streets. And sometimes when you go down these streets, your car can barely fit down these streets. And you say, well, why would they make a street this small? They did not make the street for the car. They made the street for the slave wagon. They made the street for the slave coffle. The streets were made long enough, large enough, just so the slaves could be trafficked down them. A lot of people don't even know that the layout of many of America's major cities that were slave states, that existed in slave states, those cities were laid out to benefit and accommodate the domestic slave trade. Because after 1808, Art, 1808 is when America outlawed the international slave trade. They did not outlaw slavery. They just outlawed the importation of Africans. So from 1804 until 1865, how did they get more slaves in America if you couldn't ship them in? They moved to a domestic slave trade, which means what? It means that they had to birth and create their own domestic slave system. And this is where you get the breeding farms. This is where you get the breeding farms where they would get a dozen black women, one black man, and his job was to keep those black women impregnated constantly. They were called the bitches, and he was called the buck. And unfortunately, we still refer to each other in those same pejorative terms. We call our women bitches, and we call the men bucks or the N-word. We use the same terminology on each other that they used on us. So getting back to the Nicki Minaj situation, what bothers me about my sister, and I still love and respect her, and I'm going to hope that she engages in some corrective behavior, because this is insane. This is absolutely insane to see such a talented, beautiful black woman build her career through black culture by way of the hip hop movement, become a multi-millionaire, one of the top selling artists of this century, and to use black culture to build your career and then turn around and use the platform that was created through black culture and hip hop. And now you're going to use your platform and your prominence within our culture to work against the progress of black people by joining Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Erica Kirk, Turning Point USA against the best interests of black people. It's bothersome. And the issue about this, Art, is, to me, this is the Candace Owens effect. This is the Candace Owens effect. What did Candace Owens do? Back in 2007, Candace Owens and her parents, along with the NAACP in Stamford, Connecticut, sued Candace Owens' school district because Candace Owens was receiving threats from some of her white schoolmates. They were calling her racist names. They were leaving racist voicemails, sexist voicemails. There was threats against Candace Owens, and the school district in Stamford, Connecticut sat by and did nothing. So Candace Owens and her parents, with the NAACP's help, rightfully sued the Stamford, Connecticut School Board, I believe it was, to a tune of $37,500. So you have Candace Owens, a black woman, another very articulate, intelligent, attractive black woman, just like Nicki Minaj, who benefited from civil rights, okay, and used those civil rights that our ancestors fought for to bring suit against a white racist school district. And then she spins the block on civil rights, and now look at her. She goes and gets a white husband, and now she's one of the biggest supporters of the conservative white racist agenda against African people. And as she's touring the country and she's all over the news media, okay, trying to defend the honor, integrity, and legacy of another racist in Charlie Kirk. And don't get me wrong, I didn't appreciate the way that he lost his life. I didn't appreciate black people making a mockery of him, because I wouldn't want anybody to be made a mockery of when you lose your life in front of your wife and children. That is not to be made fun of. But at the same time, how is Candace Owens running around championing the legacy of Charlie Kirk, while at the same time you made a documentary trying to prove to the whole world that George Floyd was not suffocated to death by the knee of a police officer? So you will make a documentary to try to make a black man who was assassinated look like a criminal, and then you'll turn around and go out of your way and even put your safety and the safety of your children in jeopardy to champion the legacy of a racist Charlie Kirk, who Candace Owens refers to as her best friend. How in the hell can a black woman have a white racist as a best friend? Look at the things Charlie Kirk said about black women. Look at the things Charlie Kirk said about black men. But getting back to Nicki Minaj, I believe that Donald Trump and the conservative movement in this country selected Nicki Minaj because they needed a replacement for Candace Owens. Remember, Candace Owens has fallen out of favor with the Republican Party and the mainstream conservative white agenda, because she's now exposing the Zionist control of the conservative movement and of the United States government. In fact, Art, I would argue that Charlie Kirk was assassinated, I believe, by the Zionist movement. Charlie Kirk began to question Zionist infiltration of the U.S. government. He began to question Zionist control of U.S. institutions, systems, and industries. And he began to get a little bit out of hand with his rebuke of the Israeli agenda. I believe that's why Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And I believe that because he was becoming so unapologetic in his criticism of the Israeli influence in America, along with the Zionist influence of America, that he was unalived. And because Candace Owens followed suit behind Charlie Kirk, and she started exposing the Zionist control of the United States government, they had to distance themselves from Candace. So if we're going to distance ourselves from Candace, and this is Donald Trump, the Republican Party, and the mainstream white conservative movement, we got to find another black woman. We got to find another black woman who can compete with Candace Owens nationally and internationally, to bring attention away from Candace Owens, who is highlighting the Israeli influence on American politics. And so who better to use than Nicki Minaj? Now, I don't know why Nicki Minaj is doing this. I don't know if she's getting paid. I don't know if it's a favor. I don't know if it's an exchange, as some people have suggested. Okay, I don't know. But I know it's not right. I know it's wrong. I mean, look at all the black women, Art, who Donald Trump has had laid off of their jobs. According to the Department of Labor, between 300 and 400,000 black women have lost their jobs since March because of Donald Trump's policies. So Nicki Minaj, in all respect, if you see yourself as a black woman, how can you sit up there with Erica Kirk and talk about black kids being made to be proud of themselves at the expense of white children? Where has that ever happened, Art? I'm an educator. I'm a principal. I'm a school psychologist. I ain't been in no school in America where white kids are made to feel bad about being white so black children can be proud about their African heritage. Where is that at? Somebody show me where white kids are being mistreated at the expense or for the benefit of black children. First of all, most teachers are white. Most public schools are white controlled. Most private schools are white controlled. All your Catholic schools are white controlled. What are we talking about? Most lawyers in America are white. Most doctors in America are white. Most real estate in America is owned by white people. Most politicians are white. In the U.S. Senate, you only have 3 black senators. You might get 4 if Jasmine Crockett wins, but they don't have any influence. Cory Booker, what good has he been? Raphael Warnock, what good has he been? Tim Scott, what good has he been? And if Jasmine Crockett wins, what good will she be? So this notion that white people are losing because of a liberal agenda to benefit black people, where is the evidence of this? Here's what we know, Art. When you understand the science of racism, racism is always being most racist when they act like racism does not exist. Let's go back to Barack Obama's presidency. When Barack Obama got elected, the racism said, we are living in a post-racial America. We have a black president, so maybe we don't need black fraternities and sororities anymore. We have a black president, so maybe we don't need the NAACP. We have a black president, maybe we don't need historically black colleges anymore. This was the propaganda that white supremacy put out when Barack Obama was elected. And what happened during Obama's administration? We saw a white police brutality and assassination campaign against the black community like we've never seen in recent history. Whenever they try to act like race don't matter, that's exactly when they're about to become more racist. Now, I want to draw a parallel to this, Art, because right now, Donald Trump is waging war against Venezuela. Even though war can only be declared by Congress, Donald Trump has taken it upon himself to wage war against the Venezuelan government. Now, how does this relate to Nicki Minaj? I'm going to tell you. Nicki Minaj, her parents and herself, they're from Trinidad and Tobago. If I'm not mistaken, Nicki Minaj may have been born in Trinidad or Tobago. If she wasn't, at least her parents were. At least her father was. Rest in peace to him, and condolences to the family for their loss of her father. Nobody should ever lose their life in that manner. So her father is of East Indian and African heritage. So he's mixed race, East Indian and African Trinidadian. Her mother, I believe, may be an American African. But from what I understand, the mother's all black. The father is black and East Indian. So Nicki Minaj carries within her the DNA of the East Indian people and the African people. And my question to Sister Nicki Minaj, and I hesitate to call her sister, but I'm going to do it anyway, because until I get clarity from her, I'm not going to assume the worst. But a question I would need to ask Nicki Minaj, Art, do you primarily identify as a black woman? Or do you primarily identify as an East Indian? And the reason I got to ask her that, Art, not only is she turning her back on the same black America that made her famous, not only is she turning her back on the same black America that made her famous, Art, but right now, Donald Trump has carried out 29 different strikes on Venezuelan seagoing vessels, Art. The Caribbean Sea, Donald Trump has seized oil tankers from Venezuela. He has murdered at least 105 Venezuelans. Allegedly, that's what the media is reporting. There's only one Caribbean country, Art, that is standing in solidarity with Donald Trump. Guess who it is? Trinidad and Tobago. The Prime Minister of Trinidad, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Nicki Minaj's ancestral homeland. Well, technically, your ancestral homeland is Africa, okay? But the birthland of her parents and maybe herself, Trinidad and Tobago, they are the only Caribbean country, or should I say, the main Caribbean country, standing in solidarity with Donald Trump's unilateral and illegal move to declare war on Venezuela without the approval of the U.S. Congress. Now, Art, you might ask the question, why is the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago going against the entire Caribbean community and standing with Donald Trump? You want to know why? Most Caribbean islands have a black president and or black prime minister. Trinidad and Tobago is unique, Art, because the prime minister of Trinidad and Tobago, a woman by the name of Kamala, first name Kamala, okay? Not Kamala, not to be confused with Kamala, but Prime Minister Kamala of Trinidad and Tobago is an East Indian. So even though the population of Trinidad and Tobago, Art, is 40% black, it's also 40% East Indian. And it's 20% mixed. And I've been to Trinidad and Tobago. And do you know what I was told by the Trinidadian and Tobagan Africans there? Our black brothers and sisters, they told me that Trinidad and Tobago is dominated by the East Indians. They told me that they are racist, that they control the import and export. They told me that they control the drug trade. They told me that they control the used car industry. I was even told in Trinidad and Tobago by our black brothers and sisters, our Trinidadian African brothers and sisters, that if an ethnic war broke out, if a race war broke out in Trinidad and Tobago between the blacks and the East Indians, we would probably lose. Because even though we're 40% of the population and they're 40% of the population, they control the entire infrastructure, Art. So when I say I would like to respectfully know whether or not Sister Nicki Minaj identifies as an East Indian or an African, that's not just for American African purposes, Art. That's for Trinidadian African purposes, because I need to know if she identifies with the oppressed black people of Trinidad and Tobago, who are being oppressed by who? East Indians. Remember, Art, when the white man left the Caribbean, he put the East Indians in charge. A lot of people don't know that. When the white man left the Caribbean to make sure black people would never get sole control of their island, he left East Indians in charge and he left Chinese in charge. And if you go to almost any Caribbean island today, you will find that either the East Indians or the Chinese are doing better than black people, even if there's more black people on the island. Trinidad and Tobago is unique because you have just as much East Indians as you have Africans. So I need to know if Nicki Minaj stands with the East Indians of Trinidad and Tobago, who are oppressing our brothers and sisters on that island, or does she stand with her Trinidadian African brothers and sisters, as do I? But getting back to this, Art, I believe that Nicki Minaj was selected for 3 reasons. Number 1, they need somebody to neutralize Candace Owens and Jasmine Crockett. They need somebody to neutralize the conservative movement led by Donald Trump, the mainstream conservative movement led by Donald Trump. They need Candace Owens and Jasmine Crockett politically neutralized. They're hoping that Nicki Minaj's status in the hip hop industry and her popularity, not only in America, but around the world, will be enough to take care of 2 birds with 1 stone. That's the first reason they chose her. The second reason they chose her is they wanted to show Trinidad and Tobago that if you support us, we will support you. Nicki Minaj is one of your fellow country persons. Her ancestry is from Trinidad and Tobago. She has a mixed race parent from Trinidad and Tobago. So because you're standing up for Donald Trump's imperialist agenda against Venezuela, we're going to put one of yours in the limelight for us. This is geopolitical, Art. Now let me go a step further. Some people ask the question, why is Donald Trump doing everything the Zionists are asking of him? The reason Donald Trump is doing everything, Art, that the Zionists are asking of him, because Donald Trump is in those Epstein files. Donald Trump is in those Epstein files. Congress has already ordered the Department of Justice, Art, to release all the Epstein files by Friday. Congress ordered the Justice Department, Donald Trump's Justice Department, to release all the files by Friday. Just today, Art, they released some more today. And guess what? Donald Trump's name is mentioned in those files allegedly hundreds of times. There is clear proof that Donald Trump was on Epstein's jet multiple times. And the question is being asked by the media, even if Donald Trump did not engage in any of the sex abuse of children and adults, was he aware of it? Because if he was aware of it, he can be charged as an accomplice to the crime. And here's the thing. Jeffrey Epstein, Art, was a Mossad agent. Jeffrey Epstein was Israeli secret intelligence. Jeffrey Epstein was Israeli secret intelligence. And I believe that the Mossad, the Israeli Secret Service, used Jeffrey Epstein to blackmail all of the top politicians, all of the top businessmen, and all of the top politicians, businessmen, and entertainers in America in order to coerce them, Art, to do whatever the Zionists want them to do. And if you don't, we will expose your participation in the Epstein ring. You see how that works? The Zionists, Art, they use blackmail. They have a file on almost every politician in D.C., black and white. Now, let me tell you how they played Donald Trump. During his first term, they let Donald Trump think he was in charge. During his first term, they let Donald Trump think he was commander-in-chief. During his first term, they let Donald Trump go against COVID. They let Donald Trump go against the LGBT. They let him do what he wanted to do. You know why? Because they was looking towards Donald Trump's second term. They said, when he gets back in the second term, Art, we're going to sit his ass down. We're going to let him know who's in charge. We're going to let him know what he's going to do. And if he tries to be arrogant and narcissistic and belligerent, as he has shown the world he can be, we're going to let him know. Jeffrey Epstein worked for us. And now you work for us. Why? Because you was very good friends with Jeffrey Epstein for a very long time. And we know you know what he was doing, and you did nothing to stop it, even if you didn't participate. You want to know why Donald Trump is attacking Venezuela, Art? Venezuela has an oil deal with Iran. And as you know, Israel can't stand Iran. America can't stand Iran. Venezuela has an oil deal with Iran. That's not good for the Zionists. So they're making Donald Trump attack Venezuela in the name of the Zionists. And Trinidad and Tobago is standing with Trump. And so therefore, Trump is elevating Nicki Minaj to national stature as a payback to the Trinidad and Tobago government. Art, Donald Trump can't get out of this if he wanted to. Whatever the Zionists tell him to do, he will do it. I heard J.D. Vance mention Nicki Minaj by name at least 4 times in his speech that he gave at Turning Point USA's conference in Phoenix on Sunday. He mentioned Nicki Minaj by name at least 4 times. And don't forget, Art, where was Nicki Minaj on November the 18th? On November the 18th, Nicki Minaj was at the United Nations. Art, how does a hip hop artist, no disrespect to my sister, Nicki is an intelligent sister, beautiful family. This ain't personal, this political, Art. But how does a rapper, how does a hip hop artist go from rap to giving speeches at the United Nations? And on November the 18th, Nicki Minaj gave a speech supporting Donald Trump's intervention in northern Nigeria on behalf of the Christians. Let me ask you a question, Art. Since when did Donald Trump start caring about black Christians? He don't care about the black Christians right here in America. What has Donald Trump done about miseducation for black Christians in America? What has Donald Trump done about police brutality against black Christians in America? What has Donald Trump done about homelessness and gentrification against black Christians in America? What has Donald Trump done against economic apartheid waged against black Christians in America? Since when did Donald Trump start giving a damn about black Christians? So let me get this right, Art. You're not doing nothing for the black Christians in America, but you're going to go all the way to northern Nigeria. You're going to go all the way to northern Nigeria and save Nigerian Christians from genocide and abuse. Now, first, Art, let me say this. There is genocide and abuse, some genocide against my northern Nigerian Christian brothers and sisters by Muslims in the northern region that I don't condone. If the international reports are right, you've had 10,000 northern Nigerian Christians who've been massacred over so many of these past years. It's wrong. I don't condone it. And I hope the Nigerian government gets this under control. Northern Nigeria, Art, is mostly Muslim. Southern Nigeria is mostly Christian. So the the Christians who are living in Muslim-dominated northern Nigeria, they're the ones who are being harmed. But guess what, Art? This was going on when Donald Trump was president the first time. If this was going on when Donald Trump was president the first time, why didn't he do something about it then? Because he's not threatening military invasion in Nigeria because he cared about Christians. Because if that were the case, Art, why don't he do something about the South Sudanese who are being genocided right now? Why don't Donald Trump do something about the Sudanese who are being genocided right now? Why is he ignoring the Sudanese genocide, Art? Why is he ignoring the child slaves in the Congo, Art? Since he cares so much about black people, let me tell you why. Donald Trump is ignoring the genocide in Sudan because it's being carried out by Arabs from the United Arab Emirates. The Arabs from the UAE are in the Sudan killing and genociding our black Sudanese brothers and sisters to control the oil and the other natural resources. And here's the kicker, Art. Where does the United Arab Emirates get most of their weapons from? Who is the number one military supplier of weapons to the Arabs of the UAE? Donald Trump's government.
Wow.
Listen to this, Art. Ain't that crazy? You're talking about you're going to invade Nigeria to protect my Christian brothers and sisters in the north, but you giving weapons to Dubai. You're giving weapons to the Arabs and UAE so they can come into Sudan and genocide black people in the name of natural resources, but you care about the blacks in Nigeria. Give me a break. And what about in the Congo, Art? You got children dying, mass murder, humanitarian crisis, hunger in the Congo, been going on for years. Donald Trump won't do anything about it. You know why? Because they're mining coltan and cobalt for who? Apple computers, and for Elon Musk Tesla cars, and for American military systems. So Donald Trump isn't going to say one word about the Congo because it benefits white capitalism. He's not going to say one word about Sudan because it benefits white capitalism. And don't get me started on Haiti and what America is doing in Haiti. Since you love black Christians so much, what about the black Christians in Haiti? What about all the Haitians whose asylum in America you just canceled out and you're now hunting them down like animals all across America and sending them back to Haiti? What about them? What about the airstrikes, Art, that America has carried out in Somalia, killing innocent men, women, and children? Many of them are Christian as well, although it's an Islamic country. What about them? So you got all of these genocides of black people going on around the world. Christians, as they want to say, being murdered, but Donald Trump don't see them. He only sees the one in Nigeria. And let me tell you why, Art. I know you're familiar with Ibrahim Traoré and the Sahel Alliance. Ibrahim Traoré is the president of Burkina Faso. You also have the president of Niger, Chiani, and you have General Goita of Mali, right?
Right.
The real reason, Art, and I need you to get this, the real reason Donald Trump wants to invade northern Nigeria, Art, has nothing to do with black Christians. Nothing to do with my Christian brothers and sisters in the north. Northern Nigeria sits under what country, Art? Northern Nigeria sits right under Niger, one of the three countries in the Sahel Alliance. Nigeria borders Niger. And why is Niger so important, Art? Who is the number one supplier of uranium in the world? Niger. Do you know what you need uranium for, Art? Nuclear missiles, nuclear bombs, nuclear technology, nuclear warheads. Niger is the number one supplier of uranium. And in the nuclear age, Art, uranium is the vibranium of Black Panther. In the nuclear age, uranium is the vibranium that they talked about in the Black Panther movie. So the reason Donald Trump needs to get into northern Nigeria, Art, so they can invade and try to overthrow President Chiani in Niger so they can get control of the uranium. Are you with me so far?
I follow you.
Not only does Niger have uranium, they have gold and other resources. And then next to Niger, you have who? Mali. Mali has gold, Mali has copper, Mali has zinc, and unlimited natural resources. And then Burkina Faso is only a hop, skip, and a jump from northern Nigeria. And you know they want to get rid of Ibrahim Traore, and we pray to God and the ancestors that never happens, but they want to get rid of Ibrahim Traore because he's the leader. And what does Burkina Faso have a whole lot of? Gold, Art. Donald Trump wants to geopolitically and strategically put the U.S. military in northern Nigeria so they have easy access to invade Niger right above, Mali right above to the left, and Burkina Faso right above even further to the left. Do you see that?
Right, I see.
This is about overthrowing independent African states, Art. Donald Trump don't give a damn about no Black Christians in Nigeria. He don't care about the ones here. So for my sister Nicki Minaj, to go to the United Nations and give voice to Donald Trump's false flag of caring about Christian Nigerians and Black Africa is a disservice to her race. Nicki Minaj, I want you to reconsider this. Please don't go down the path of Candace Owens' sister. Please recant while you can, but I don't know if she can, Art. She might be in too deep. You done already went to the UN speaking on behalf of Donald Trump's agenda to invade Nigeria so he can overthrow the Sahel Alliance. You done already went to Turning Point USA's AmeriFest conference talking about how Donald Trump makes you feel proud to be an American. Talking about how when Donald Trump and J.D. Vance speak, you know they speaking for us. And then she said, Art, that I don't want any, and I'm paraphrasing, but she said something like, I don't want any white girls with blonde hair and blue eyes to not be proud of themselves in order for Black children to be proud of themselves. I'm not quoting her exactly correct, but she's basically parroting that narrative that teaching corrective history in American schools, teaching Black history in American schools, teaching the truth about American slavery in these schools, Art, is going to somehow damage white kids psychologically. Art, there ain't a white child in America who give a damn about what Black people think about them. There's not a white person in America who gives a damn about what Black people think about them. You know what this really is about? Sanitizing the history, Art, because on July 4th, 2026, America turns 250 years old. On July 4th, 2026, right here in Philadelphia, a few blocks from where we are, there's going to be a massive 250th birthday party for white supremacy. A massive birthday party for white supremacy, and Donald Trump and the rest of America wants to make sure that nobody spoils the party by telling the truth about how this country was built on the backs of African enslaved. That's what this is, Art. And Nicki Minaj is allowing herself to be used to undermine the self-respect and dignity of Black people, the proper education of Black children in the schools. She's allowing herself to be used as a stool pigeon to help propagate Donald Trump's agenda to invade Nigeria so he could try to overthrow Niger for the uranium, Mali for the gold, the nickel, the copper, the zinc, and Burkina Faso and its leader for the abundant gold in the unapologetically African position that Ibrahim Traore is taking. I'm disappointed in my sister. And then J.D. Vance, Art, He gets up there after Nicki Minaj and he says, in the United States, you no longer have to be ashamed to be white. When did white people, when did I miss something? When were white people ever made to feel ashamed in this country? When? Somebody give me a day, a month, an hour, a minute. This country is created by white people, dominated by white people, ran by white people for the benefit of white people. Black people have never had the upper hand in this country. So for J.D. Vance to say you no longer have to be ashamed to be white, who owned the banks? White people. Who owned the supermarkets? White people. Who owned the hospitals? White people. Who owned the schools? White people. Who sell the cars, the gas, the oil? White people. Who owned the ships? White people. So how in the hell does J.D. Vance break breath to say you no longer have to be ashamed to be white? In conclusion, Art, I would just say that I'm disappointed in my sister Nicki. You have no business using hip hop music to build yourself in black culture. Very talented sister, very articulate sister, very intelligent sister, tremendous lyricist. Few sisters I could put in front of her in terms of lyrical talent. But how dare you build a comfortable life for you and your beautiful family on black culture and then turn around and use that success to help Donald Trump leverage his military agenda against Black Africa, the Black Caribbean, and Black America. I need her to understand, Art, Sister Nicki, you are being used against the Black Caribbean. You are being used against Black Africa, and you are being used against Black America. Is what Donald Trump is offering you, is it worth that? Is it worth the turning back the clock of African people in 3 separate regions? Are you got the Caribbean? He's pushing that Venezuela military agenda. You got Nigeria. He's pushing that fake save the Christians in the North agenda so he can access Ibrahim Traore. And of course, you see what he's doing to black folks. I hope my sister rethinks what she's doing. I got nothing but love for her and her family. But Nicki Minaj, please, 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 sister, do not go down in history as one of the greatest who ever lived in the 21st century.
How you feel about the Epstein files in general? It got everybody talking, man. The pictures that's coming out, man, is wild, yo.
Yeah. Listen, Art, you're never going to get all the Epstein papers. You're never going to get all the MLK files. You're never going to get all the Malcolm files. And let me throw this at you, Art. One of the reasons Donald Trump released the Malcolm X and Dr. King files is because he knew that they were going to force him to release the Epstein files. And he wanted to make sure he left a good enough taste in black people's mouths so we wouldn't hold him to task too much. You see how that works? Let the Malcolm files out. Let me get the King files out. So black people are so busy studying the Malcolm files and studying the Dr. King files, they won't have time to worry about the Epstein files. And the reason President Trump don't need black people worrying about the Epstein files, instead worrying about the Malcolm and the King, Art, guess who most of the victims were on Epstein Island? Black children. The Epstein Island is right by the U.S. Virgin Islands, Art. You get to it from St. Thomas. I was there. They told me the whole story. They told me how they would fly them in. They told me the airport where they would put them at. They told me how they would gather the black kids and fly them out. They said they would come in on domestic airplanes, right? Or like anybody else. They would fly in like any other tourist, and then they would be shuttled along to a private airport. That's when they would get on Epstein's plane or whatever plane, and then they would fly them to Epstein Island. They said this was not a secret in St. Thomas. They say, Dr. Umar, what Epstein was doing on this island was not a secret at all. And there's no way he could have done it without the U.S. government knowing what he did. And a lot of those victims, Art, they were our children. They were our children. And guess what, Art? They didn't always fly them in from America. They often got them from the U.S. Virgin Islands. In the Caribbean, Art, one of the biggest problems in the Caribbean is the kidnapping of black children. Let me ask you a question. I done been all over the Caribbean. When I asked them what are the main problems for black people, One of the biggest ones that always our kids. Art, how in the hell are you kidnapping kids on an island surrounded by water? If the island is surrounded by water, Art, how the hell are these kids getting off the island? They're being flown by Jeffrey Epstein's planes. They were getting black kids from across the Caribbean, Art, and serving them up to Jeffrey Epstein. Why? Because it started getting too dangerous flying them in from America all the time. Even though they were still doing it and never stopped, it was more convenient to get them from the Caribbean islands. Poor children, the islands don't really have that infrastructure to investigate where they're going and what's being done to them. Haitian children. And they sent them to Jeffrey Epstein. Donald Trump, I'm telling you, I believe that if those files are ever redacted, and they won't be because the Zionists control the Justice Department, if those files are ever unredacted, Art, we're going to see that Donald Trump, even if he didn't participate, and some people would allege that he did, but even if he didn't participate, I believe that there's enough information in the unredacted Epstein files that will show Donald Trump was at least complicit in knowing about it and doing nothing. He was too close of a friend to Jeffrey Epstein. They were too tight of buddies. They were too involved with each other as social companions for Donald Trump not to have known what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. And the only way he's going to avoid going to jail is to do whatever the Zionists tell him to do. Topple Ibrahim Traore, topple Venezuela, and do everything else we tell you to do, or you will be next. Did you see that video that came out 2 or 3 days ago, Art? Donald Trump was at a podium. He was at a podium with a bunch of Zionists. And the Zionists, I think he put his hand around President Trump and he said, he is the first Jewish president. And Donald Trump found it on the internet, Art. This is recent. This is only a day or two. He put his arm around Trump and he said, this is the first Jewish president. And Donald Trump's eyes got really wide because I don't think he expected that to be said about him. And you can see he did not want to agree with it, but he had no choice. And then right after the Zionists said, this is the first Jewish president, Donald Trump said, you're right, I am. When have you ever known anybody to bully Donald Trump into saying something he don't want to say, Art? When have you ever seen Donald Trump get bullied into saying something he didn't want to say? He did the other day. I'm telling you, Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent, and his assignment was to entrap every high-ranking politician and businessman and entertainer in America, entrap them, and through blackmail, we will coerce them to do whatever we want them to do, or they will be exposed and imprisoned. Donald Trump is in over his head. And I hope my sister Nicki Minaj gets herself out of this situation before it's too late.
Yeah, hopefully she wakes up soon, man. But I want to ask you about the Michigan coach, him losing his job. How you feel about that?
Sherrone Moore. The snow bunny crisis strikes again. And this is crazy, Art, because the last time we met, we dealt with Shannon. We dealt with Tyler Perry. We dealt with Smokey Robinson's snow bunny crisis. And here we are again, 6 months later, and black men are still falling for the traps of non-black women. Now, let's do the history on this. Sherrone Moore is hired by the University of Michigan in 2018. He comes in as the tight end coach. And then he works his way up. He becomes the offensive coordinator, the offensive line coach. Jim Harbaugh, who is now coaching, I believe, the San Diego Chargers. He gets caught up in some sort of a scandal. He has to leave. He gives Sherrone Moore his blessing to replace him. So Sherrone replaces Jim Harbaugh. And one of the reasons he got the job, Art, is he did a good job standing in for Jim Harbaugh while he was on suspension for whatever trouble he got into. Now, according to the police, allegedly, Sherrone told the police that him and the Snow Bunny side chick was involved in this relationship for 2 years, Art. That means they were involved in the relationship before he became the head coach. They was already involved. I'm going to tell you why this could be relevant in a minute. So he's dealing with the Snow Bunny mistress. He has a Snow Bunny wife. And they got 3 children. So you got a white wife at home with your 3 children. Why was that not enough? You're going to go and date a white staffer employed by the University of Michigan football team. And then, Art, he commits a flagrant foul by increasing her pay. He nearly doubles her pay, Art, and promotes her to his executive assistant. Doubles her pay, promotes her to executive assistant. Art, if you know you're breaking the rules, why would you leave a digital footprint? You don't think the whole University of Michigan administration can tell you just gave this woman a raise? You don't think the whole University of Michigan administration can tell that you promoted this woman to your executive assistant when you got a wife at home with 3 children? Now, here's where it gets crazy, Art. The policy of the University of Michigan does not allow you to initiate a relationship with a subordinate. If you are a supervisor at the University of Michigan, you cannot initiate a relationship with a subordinate. However, Art, the policy says the subordinate can initiate a relationship with you. Look at this. As the supervisor, I cannot try to date my supervisee, but my supervisee can initiate a date with me. However, Art, if my supervisee wants to date me, I have to tell my supervisor, and they have to create a management plan. Now, Art, I don't know what the hell a management plan is for 2 grown people dating each other. I don't understand how you're going to manage that. But according to the University of Michigan football team's policy, if somebody you supervise wants to date you, they can, you can, but you got to tell us, and we have to put you on management plan. He didn't tell nobody, Art. He didn't tell nobody he was dating his staffer. He couldn't tell him because he's married with children. So be that as it may, I'm assuming allegedly the Snow Bunny homewrecker, she got pregnant, or she thought she was pregnant, allegedly. According to the reports, Sherrone Moore door dashes a Plan B birth control pill, Art. You are the head coach of a top team in football, and you're going to door dash a Plan B. Art, is this nigga crazy? You don't door dash no Plan B in an all-white town of Ann Arbor, Michigan. Are you insane? So he door dashes the Plan B. I assume he forced her to take it or try to make her take it, allegedly. So guess what she does, Art? As we've talked about before, she used her Snow Bunny privilege. She ran to the director of athletics and she snitched on her lover. That Snow Bunny ran to the university, Art, and snitched his ass out. She showed him the text messages. She showed him the videos. She gave them the whole line of events. He gets fired and arrested on December the 10th. He goes home to his wife, Snow Bunny number 1. He's threatening to hurt himself in front of the wife, according to the wife, Art. Then he grabs a butter knife, allegedly. He grabs a butter knife and runs over to the Snow Bunny mistress's apartment. Mind you, at least at one time, the Snow Bunny mistress was living in the same apartment complex with some of the players, Art. So you know everybody knew he was dealing with her because they said they saw his car outside at night. They saw him coming out of her apartment at night. How you going to be this sloppy, Art, making $6 million a year? $6 million a year. You threw that away for pale vagina. How do you do this? And then, Art, that is a $500,000 a month paycheck. You mean to tell me you are married with 3 children? You get a paycheck for $500,000 a month, Art, and you threw it away for the pale vagina. So check this out. He busts into the Snow Bunny mistress's apartment, allegedly. The butter knife, I believe he puts it to his neck. And he tells her, my blood is on your hands. This is all your fault. He texted this, and allegedly he said this to her as well. From what I understand, Art, he never threatened his wife's life. And from what I understand, he never threatened the mistress's life. So neither Snow Bunny was threatened by him, from what I understand. He only threatened to unalive himself. Now, here's where it gets real interesting for me, Art. Who do you think the Snow Bunny mistress would call if she feels unsafe? Who should the first phone call be to?
I'll call the police.
The police. 911. She don't call the police. Guess who she calls? Her attorney. Art, if you feel like somebody's about to hurt you, especially if you're a white woman in the presence of a black man, you don't call your attorney. You don't have time to call your attorney. It only takes 1 minute for somebody to hurt you. You call 911. She called the attorney. Now check this out, Art. The attorney calls the police. After the attorney calls the police, his wife calls the police. What's wrong with that story, Art? You know what's wrong with the story? He was home with his wife first. How did the attorney for the mistress call the police before your wife? According to the reports, Art, the wife called the police after the attorney called the police. But he was at home with the wife first. I'm going to tell you what I think. I could be completely wrong. And you know what I'm going to say? I believe the Snow Bunnies were working together. I believe the wife and the mistress colluded and collaborated in taking down Mr. Sherrone Moore. Art, there's no way the mistress's attorney should be reaching the police before your wife. They said the wife called the police right after the mistress's attorney. You know what that sounds like to me, Art? We just called the police and you should too. I believe that this was a setup. I believe that Sherrone Moore was double Snow Bunny. He was Snow Bunnied by his wife and he was Snow Bunnied by his mistress. Both of them was sick and tired of him playing them, cheating on them. And you know what they did? They came up with a plan to crush his ass. He was arrested, charged with third-degree felony of home invasion. He was given a misdemeanor of breaking and entering. And he was given another misdemeanor, Art, of stalking in a romantic relationship. $25,000 bond. He's on home arrest with an ankle monitor, mandatory mental health therapy, and he's waiting to go to court to see what the sentence is going to be. All because, for whatever reason, Art, he didn't think black women were good enough.
Lost everything too, and she still got her job.
She did not get fired. She did not get fired. And you know what this sounds like, Art? Ime Udoka in the Boston Celtics. Remember that? Ime Udoka, head coach of the Boston Celtics, was engaged in an affair with a Snow Bunny working for the Boston Celtics. They exposed Ime. They suspended Ime. They fired Ime. You still don't know the name of the white woman who was cheating on her significant other with Ime. She was completely protected by Brad Stevens and the entire Boston Celtics network. And you have the same thing going on right now. This Snow Bunny, who helped destroy this man's life, although he must take responsibility first, but she helped destroy his life. She knew he had a wife. She dealt with him anyway. And why are you having unprotected sex with a married man? Anyway, she don't get fired, Art? Even if you don't fire her for breaking the rules of the University of Michigan, Art, how doesn't she get fired for cheating with a married man against his wife? You mean to tell me she don't get fired? There got to be some sort of a moral clause What about the image? I mean, this is a university. Is that a good example for the students at the University of Michigan to allow this woman to stay on with her job when everybody on campus knows she willingly had an affair with a married man? Nope, she don't lose her job because snow bunnies are never wrong. Sherrone Moore did not learn from Ime Udoka. He lost his job, and the snow bunnies are still at their jobs. You know, Art, at some point, in much respect to all people, much respect to Caucasian women, but the Caucasian women who date black men, at some point, they're going to have to be considered a financial terrorist group, a financial domestic terrorist group, because look at how they are going through the black community, destroying wealth at every turn. I mean, this is getting crazy. This man had a $30 million contract with incentives, $6 million a year, are gone. And you know his white wife, she's suing him for what he got left. You know when it's all said and done, Art, he's completely done. That wife is not staying. She was only with you anyway because you had a promising athletic career. Let's just keep it a buck. And now you cheated on me and you embarrassed me too. I'm out. So whatever he had left, she's going to take that, Art. Look at what happened to Shannon Sharp, Smokey Robinson, Tyler Perry. I mean, when do we wake up and say we got to stop this? These snow bunnies are running through the black community like crazy, snatching millions of dollars from black men, and yet and still, you still got brothers calling black women the gold diggers. You still got brothers calling black women the gold diggers. Or I feel sorry for him. I think he can rebound from this, though. I think once he gets his life back together, he can go and coach at a smaller school, maybe a Division II, Division III, build his credibility back up, build his character back up, build his rep back up. And I think, because he's young, Art, he's only 39. He's only 39. You got coaches out there in their 70s. So in the next 3 to 5 years, I think Sherrone Moore rebounds from this situation. And I just hope and pray he gets a black wife. Because guess what, Art? If that staffer was a black woman, you and I both know we don't even know about this story. If a black woman goes into the director of athletics for any predominantly white power university and says, I had an affair with the white coach. If a black woman goes to the director of athletics at any predominantly white university and says, I had an affair with the married white coach, you think they firing him, Art? They're going to tell that black woman, you knew what you was doing. You did it willingly. Get your ass out this office. And if you ever mention this to anybody, we will not only fire you, we will destroy your life and the life of everybody you love, Art. This does not happen if she was black. This only happens because she was white. Black men need to take note and learn from it. Again, I'm not against nobody of no race, but interracial dating does not benefit the black community. And guess what, Art? It don't seem to be benefiting rich black men too much either. It don't seem to be benefiting rich black men too much either. And I don't know if you saw the news the other day. Remember the white girl who killed her black boyfriend? She unalived her black boyfriend.
Yeah, I heard about that.
She got arrested. Don't you know they dropped all charges? She murdered him, Art. She murdered him in cold blood. They dropped all the charges. Even when they unalive black men, they don't even go to jail. This is insane. If Donald Trump, I can't believe Donald Trump signed all these executive orders, Art. President Trump signed all these executive orders, and not one of them is an executive order to ban interracial marriage, because I support it. Ban interracial marriage, at least for black men, because black men's self-esteem is so low. Black men's self-worth is so low that most rich black men feel that they need a white girl in order to feel equal or good enough to the white man. Ban interracial marriage. I support it 100%.
Two-part question I want to ask you. How you feel about the documentary on Diddy and you and 50? What's going on between both y'all? Me personally, the documentary was incredible, man. You know, shout out to 50, man. But I know you and 50, y'all got something going on, right?
Indeed, indeed. So originally, when I heard about the Reckoning of Sean Diddy Combs documentary that was produced by 50 Cent, I wasn't going to watch it. And I wasn't going to watch it because, quite frankly, I had grown a little tired of the Diddy case. You know, I had followed it, I had studied it, I had researched it. And at this point, the man was sentenced to 50 months in jail, I believe the time was that the feds gave him. There really wasn't much left to talk about. Everything had already been put out there, all the hours of testimony, hundreds of hours of court proceedings. It was nothing else to talk about as far as I was concerned. And then people kept texting me. They said, Dr. Umar, you got to see this, you got to see this, you got to see this. So one night, I can't go to sleep. And I decided to go ahead and watch it. And I watched all the episodes. I will say that it appeared to be very well researched from the point of view that 50 Cent wanted to portray. I don't think it was balanced in that you didn't hear anything positive at all about the man, when in fact, despite the horrendous deeds, which cannot be excused at all, I still think it would have been a little bit more credible if it was a little bit more balanced. But with that being said, the documentary was done. And after watching it, well, the first thing I'm going to say is 50 Cent does a good job with documentaries. Putting the fact that I did not appreciate a black man kicking another black man who's already down, putting that to the side, he did a good job with the documentary. Like, I could see 50 Cent doing more of these. Now, I was on a stream here in Philly a couple of weeks ago with a young brother, and the question came up, and I said that, in my opinion, watching that documentary was an exercise in self-hatred, because it was. Whenever black people tear down black people, especially when they've already been torn down, it's self-hate, because we never show that energy with no other community. We have been done wrong so much and so often by Caucasians, and yet we never do a documentary on them. Do you realize, Art, there hasn't been a single documentary done on the police who have unalived all of these innocent, unarmed black people? Where's the documentary on the police officer who killed Tamir Rice? Where's the documentary on the police officers who murdered Breonna Taylor? Where's the documentary on the police officers who murdered Sonia Mancy or Sandra Bland or Freddie Gray or Philando Castile or Alton Sterling or Amir Pope? Look at all of this that has been done to us. Where's the documentary on the Roman Catholic Church and all the black children they allowed to be sexually abused? Where's the documentary on that? Where's the documentary on the economic devastation of black people by whites? I don't just mean Tulsa of 100 years ago. I mean right here, right now. We never have smoke for our real enemies, but we are always ready and willing to tear down another black person. Now, with that being said, Art, I have to say this in fairness to 50 Cent. With that being said, I have to say this in fairness to 50 Cent. When I learned, allegedly, that Sean Combs had seduced, allegedly, and sexually exploited, although with her permission, when I learned that Sean Combs had seduced and sexually exploited one of 50 Cent's ex-girlfriends, possibly even a mother of one of his children, when I learned of that, I said, you know what? As much as I didn't appreciate the documentary, if I'm going to be fair and honest to Mr. Curtis Jackson, Art, he had a right to do the documentary. As much as I did not appreciate another slander doc on a famous black person, he had a right to do it, Art. If it is true, and I say if because I was not there, if Sean Combs seduced and sexually exploited and took advantage of in any way, shape, form, or fashion, or allowed other men to take advantage of, even with her permission, if Sean Combs knew that that was 50's baby mom or ex-girlfriend, If he knew this and seduced and exploited this woman and probably did so just to get at 50 art, that was wrong, bro. That is completely against the G code. You don't ever go and get the mother of somebody's child and slut them out and dog them out sexually and exploit them sexually and do allegedly all these things that I'm being told was done to that woman. You don't do that when you know that's that man's baby mom, or you know that's that man's ex-girlfriend. You don't know how he felt about that woman. He could have been in love with that woman. And even if she was a little promiscuous, and I'm not saying she was, because I don't know the sister, but even if she was promiscuous and Diddy did all this to that woman, 50 Cent, as much as I hate to say it, Art, 50 Cent had a right to make that documentary. If Puffy did to that woman that 50 used to date, the things that people claim he did and allowed to be done to her, even with her permission, you don't do that as a black man. That is conduct unbecoming a black man. And I would have to say that Curtis 50 Cent Jackson was justified in making a documentary, Art, because if I was him, if I was in 50 shoes, I might have done a documentary too. You feel me? I'm going to be honest. You do that to my baby mom, even if I don't like her no more, even if I'm not on good terms with her no more, no matter what we've been through, you knew that was my baby mom. You knew that was my girlfriend. And you do that? You have her doing all this with you and other people, and you know that was my shorty at one time? Bro, that's a complete violation of the G code, Art. So with that being said, 50 Cent had a personal reason to do that documentary, and I can't say he wrong for doing it. Now, with that being said, Art, watching that documentary, I came to 3 conclusions. Number 1, black people are hypocrites. We are probably the biggest spiritual hypocrites in America. And I'm going to say that, Art, because we are the most spiritual people in America. We are the most religious people in America. We brought religion to America. We gave it to the world. But the reason I say black people, after watching that documentary, have to be the biggest spiritual hypocrites in America is I'm seeing all these people. And I'm not talking about everybody. I want to be clear. I'm not talking about everybody. But I'm seeing all these people who was around this mess, around this filth, around this energy. Y'all watch people get taken advantage of. Y'all saw people get Mickeys put in their drinks, or at least you knew the Mickeys was in their drinks. Y'all saw women get beat up, beat on, trains ran on them, people get drugged, extorted, mistreated, dehumanized, and you did nothing about it at all as long as you were getting your piece. And now you're telling the world about all of this, Art. Now that the man is locked up and is no longer able to do anything for you, where was your voice when all this was going on? I'm talking to the men and I'm talking to the women. Like, it's one thing for you to have not known, to learn about it later, and to give your opinion. No issue. But if you was around this and you saw all this, women being taken advantage of against their will, even in some cases, maybe, but people being drugged without notice, and you don't say nothing at all, are you not an accomplice to the crime? Are you not in some way almost as guilty as Diddy? And I'm not passing judgment on nobody because, Art, I am drawing a larger parallel to Black America as a whole. So for me, this is not just about the people who were interviewed in the documentary. This is about us. We have this selective morality thing, Art, where if he does it, it's wrong. If my brother do it, it ain't wrong. If my best friend do it, it ain't wrong. If my sister do it, it ain't wrong. What's up with all this selective morality from black people? When Puffy was holding you down, when you were in good standings with Puff, you knew this. Said nothing, did nothing. The men and the women. But now Puff has fallen from grace. Everybody is all of a sudden righteous. And everybody is filled with righteous indignation for what Sean Diddy Combs did after the fact. Art, that's like me. I work in schools, Art. That's like, God forbid, I know of a teacher that's sexually abusing children. And I don't say nothing because me and the teacher cool. Or the principal sexually abusing children. And I don't say nothing because the principal keep giving me extra children to evaluate. And the principal giving me overtime pay. And the principal giving me my own parking spot and a new computer and let me take days off without even notifying the district. I know he's doing wrong, Art. I don't say nothing. But the minute the principal gets caught by somebody else, is charged and convicted of a crime and sentenced to 50 months, now I want to tell my story. Now I want to tell the world what I saw. Now I want to tell the world what he did. Art, I am almost as guilty as the principal. I knew he was doing it. I was aware he was doing it. Even if I wasn't there when he was doing it, I knew the details because I heard about it. People talked about it. I saw evidence, whatever the case may be. I knew he was taking advantage of these kids. And I don't say a word until he goes to jail. And if he never goes to jail, I may have never said a word. Or if he never stops taking care of me, I may have never told my story. As far as I'm concerned, Art, it's just like with the R. Kelly situation. Why is Sean Puffy Combs the only person in jail? Why is R. Kelly the only person in jail? And of course, we know the answer to that. The answer is they were targeted for other reasons. Sean Combs is not in jail because of what he was doing. Clearly not. Clearly not. Because there's people who was part of the Epstein ring ain't seen jail yet. Look at what happened with Abercrombie and Fitch CEO, Art. Look what happened to him. They gave him a mental health thing. They said he was going through mental health crisis. He was subject to a hospital. And he'll be going to trial in 2026, Art. And they're going to try to get that man off. Now, this is a man who sexually trafficked people. Puffy didn't sexually traffic people. Puffy may have drugged people without their knowledge, which is wrong and unacceptable. He may have paid people for sex, which is a crime across borders. Okay, interstate trafficking, the Mann Act. But to my knowledge, he didn't sexually traffic anybody against their will. But the CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch did. And guess what? He was given bail. He was given bail. This man was engaged in international sex trafficking, Art, and he was given a bail and was sent to a mental health hospital because they're claiming that he's going through psychological crisis. But Puffy never got bail, and Puffy doing 50 months. I don't condone any wrong that Puffy did. I don't condone no wrong against women or children at all. I'm not condoning it. I'm simply saying, where is black people smoke for everybody else? But the three things, Art, that came to mind. Number one, black people are hypocrites. Number two, this is going to be the new takedown strategy for any rich and powerful black man that the power structure wants to do away with. They now know that we can literally destroy a black man in his own community without the courts. Puffy didn't have to go to jail. Puffy didn't have to go to jail. That was for suing Diageo Liquor. That's what that was for. They had already destroyed Puff enough. He didn't have to go to jail. But they now know, Art, that we can choose any black man we want and destroy them in front of their people. And they won't do anything about it. In fact, they will help us. So I know that this is going to be the new way to destroy rich black moguls. And let us be clear, Art, they want to get all of them. The only one left standing from the music industry is Sean Combs. They done got Russell. They done got Kelly. They got Cosby. They got Combs. The only one left is Carter. And even though I think Jay-Z should be doing a whole lot more for the black community, I don't want to see him fall. I don't want to see him fall. But of black male moguls, Art, he's the last man standing. And I pray that he continues to stand. And 50 got to be careful too, Art. Okay? To my knowledge, he ain't got no scandals or nothing, but 50 is up there. And I respect 50 Cent because he's done some good things for some people. I've heard somebody spoke of how allegedly he produced Pop Smoke's posthumous album after he was unalived, and they say 50 didn't charge any money for it. I've heard 50 take care of other artists. I heard someone say that 50 helped Dr. Cheyenne Bryant get her book deal. So 50 is not a bad guy. And if I had to guess, Art, using my psychology lens, I think the reason why 50 trolls people is because there might be some unaddressed pain in him from his own traumatic past that we know about. And I think 50 might need to sit on Dr. Cheyenne Bryant's couch. And if they don't have a personal relationship, if there's no romance involved, I think it would be a good thing for Dr. Cheyenne Bryant to do a couple sessions with Fifth and help him process whatever he need to process, Art. Because when you're that rich and that famous, you don't have a lot of people you can go and talk to. Kanye West. You can't tell me Kanye West don't belong on somebody's couch. But when you rich and that famous, who can you trust to tell your deepest secrets to? I think 50 Cent is a good dude because he's done too much good for me not to think he's a good dude. But I think he still carries pain that no amount of wealth and no amount of money can extinguish. And so I hope that, he just get a couple sessions with somebody who he can really open up to, because I think if 50 Cent can get over that pain that I think he still has, I think he can change the world, bro. I think he cares enough to where 50 Cent could change the world if somebody could just help him process a little bit of that pain. But I'm proud of what he's done, because a lot of rappers, Art, they leave the hip hop industry, they don't land on their feet. Think about it. Most rappers, when they're done, no matter how successful they were in music, they don't land on their feet. 50 not only landed on his feet, this guy has broken records, you know what I mean, with some of the miniseries that he's put out there, some of the viewership that he's put out there. Now he got his own movie studio that he's working on. He's slowly becoming another Tyler Perry, without the, obviously without some of the controversy that surrounds Tyler Perry's name. Shout out to Tyler Perry. I hope he wins that case against the Rainbow Bunny that he's dealing with. But I respect 50. I like 50. I've always been a fan of 50. Don't agree with some of the trolling, but like I said, if 50 can process some of that pain he's still carrying, 50 Cent can change the world. I do think he cares. And as far as the documentary goes, if Puff did to his baby mom or ex-girlfriend, whatever people are claiming he did to his baby mom or ex-girlfriend, he had a right to do the documentary. As much as I don't want to admit it, Art, he had a right to do that documentary.
He got every right to be mad. I mean, if we keeping it real, Diddy, he could have had any woman he wanted, yo. That was intentional. He knew that was 50 baby mom, and come on, man.
I agree. I agree. I agree. That was wrong. Bro, I'm going to be honest with you, Art. In my opinion, because to my knowledge, Sean Combs didn't do anything to any underage children. That didn't come out in that documentary. That didn't come out in any of the other documentaries, any other miniseries that was done on him. None of the interviews I've seen. It doesn't appear that Sean Combs took advantage of any children. So with that being said, Art, I'm almost ready to say that what Puff did to 50 baby mom may be worse than anything in the documentary. Like from a man-to-man respect perspective, from a man-to-man G code perspective, from a man-to-man honor and integrity perspective, if what is alleged of Sean Combs to have done to 50 Cent's baby mom, if that is in fact true, that crime, although it wasn't technically a crime in the white man's world, it's a crime against your manhood. That crime may be worse than everything 50 put in that documentary. I hope it ain't true. But if it is, he's more than justified for doing the documentary. More than justified. Again, I don't know the whole story, and I always say, based on what I know, Art, because maybe 50 Cent might come out later and said 50 did it, something like that, to one of my baby moms. I don't know. But based on the knowledge that is out now, and my opinion can change based on the information presented to me at any given time, any given moment, but based on what we know, Sean Combs was wrong. For that was wrong. And for that, he had a right to do the documentary, man. Still wish he wouldn't have. I'm just tired of the negative energy in our community. But he had a right to do that documentary if, in fact, Puffy did with his baby mom what the streets is alleging he did with her.
Have you seen a new Dave Chappelle stand up?
I saw the Dave Chappelle stand up. And I'm going to say this. I met brother Dave for the first time in Columbus this year at the Columbus Black Expo. He was there. Talib Kweli was there. A lot of the celebrities was there. And we gave each other a dap and a quick hug. You know, Dave Chappelle, obviously, you know, he's married to a non-black woman, Asian woman. Respect to him, his wife, and their children. And as you know, I don't support interracial dating because black men should be with black women, not because of any hatred for anybody else. With that being said, I think Dave Chappelle is the most politically unapologetic black comedian in the 21st century. I'm almost ready to say of all time, but Richard Pryor was pretty unapologetic as well when it came to racial issues. But after Richard Pryor, somebody of Dave's stature, I don't know, with the exception of Richard Pryor, I don't know of another unapologetically, politically unapologetically black comedian like Dave Chappelle in our history. Paul Mooney was very unapologetic politically, very politically unapologetic, but he never got to the stature of a Dave Chappelle, in my opinion. He may have had it before, but not in my lifetime, right? I think Paul Mooney was the most political of them all. But publicly, at Dave Chappelle's stature, saying what you feel, how you feel it in front of white people, I got to give my brother his flowers. I got to give Dave Chappelle his flowers. In that series that he just did, which he called the N-word act. And the reason Dave Chappelle called it the N-word act is he was drawing a parallel between the first heavyweight black boxing champion, Jack Johnson, and Puffy Combs. And so the stand-up was called the N-word act. I'm going to say the Negro act, but he didn't say Negro, okay? The Negro act. Because basically what Dave was trying to show is this law, and we talked about this before, Art, I think, this law that was created to bring down Jack Johnson because he was sleeping with white women and white men didn't like it. This law, racist law, created to bring down the first black heavyweight champion, Jack Johnson, the Mann Act, which forbids interstate trafficking for purposes of immorality, is exactly what Sean Combs was convicted of. And of course, I correctly predicted that Sean Combs would only be convicted for that interstate prostitution on your show. I said that's the only thing he will be found guilty of, and that was the only thing he was found guilty of. So Dave Chappelle was trying to show that even with all of Sean Combs' excesses and abuses, it still came right back to we must control black men by any means necessary. And in that stand-up, Dave Chappelle talked about how he did a show in Saudi Arabia. And during that show in Saudi Arabia, he said he can speak freely in Saudi Arabia during his stand-up, and I'm paraphrasing him, but he can't speak freely in America. And that drew the ill repute of a lot of white conservatives and liberals who accused Dave Chappelle of un-Americanism. And of course, they also tried to criticize him because he said there was a journalist who was murdered in Saudi Arabia, Art. And they said to Dave Chappelle, why are you doing a comedy show in Saudi Arabia if they unalived this journalist? And Dave Chappelle said, well, Israel has unalived, allegedly, at least 240 journalists. And y'all not telling nobody not to go to Israel. So I'm not supposed to go to Saudi Arabia because a journalist was unalived once. But Israel has unalived 240 and nobody's saying anything about that. The stand-up was very bold. I was impressed with the level of Dave Chappelle's audacity. That was probably the most unapologetically black stand-up I saw in front of a mixed race audience in the 21st century. So I got to give, even though I don't support interracial dating, I got to give my brother Dave Chappelle his props. He also talked about the whole transgender thing and how he could make transgender jokes in Saudi Arabia, whereas in America, if he makes those same jokes, he gets criticized for it. People try to cancel him for it. And this is supposed to be the land of free speech. Okay. And that was another thing Nicki Minaj said that I didn't agree with. She said when Erica Kirk asked Nicki Minaj, what brought you to change your political opinion or bring you to the Donald Trump, team? She said, because I got tired of being pushed around and being told that I'm not allowed to have a different opinion. But Art, isn't that exactly what Donald Trump did when Charlie Kirk was murdered? When Charlie Kirk was murdered, they didn't allow anybody to have an opinion. You had to be pro Charlie Kirk. You had to support the legacy of this racist white man because Donald Trump said so. I think they wanted to lay his body in state at the White House or in DC. I don't know if they did that or not, but they wanted to lay his body in state. He got his own holiday, October the 14th, Charlie Kirk Day. And then Dave Chappelle talked about that, how black people had to fight like hell to get Dr. King's birthday to become a national holiday. And Charlie Kirk Day, I don't know if that's his birthday or not, October the 14th, became a national holiday. And guess what? It had bipartisan support. You had the Democrats and the Republicans came together to endorse October 14th as Charlie Kirk's Day. Black people and white people came together to endorse Charlie Kirk's birthday. Van Jones, who I'm going to have to call a hypocrite because he is Democratic Party plantation slave number one. Snow Bunny Van Jones is Democratic plantation slave number one. And even he, I believe, supported the Charlie Kirk national holiday. You know what I mean? So Dave Chappelle was just looking at all these contradictions in American society, and he did a very good job exposing American contradictions. And he basically said, listen, y'all going to have to look out for me. Y'all going to have to protect me because I don't want them to do me like they did Charlie Kirk. He said, I didn't expect my voice to become as powerful as my voice is. And he said, listen, I'm just going to have to keep on doing shows in Saudi Arabia because I'm going to say what I want to say. Ain't nobody going to stop me from giving my honest opinion. I'm not trying to hurt nobody, okay, but I'm going to tell the truth as I see it. And he said something to the effect sarcastically at the end. He said, I'm not going to, don't quote me. He said something to the effect of, and I'm not going to say the code word, or in order to be protected, you got to say the code word. And the code word is I stand with Israel. And as you know, Art, we just saw Floyd Money Mayweather, okay, receive some sort of a award from the Zionists, where he said he's going to be a staunch supporter and defender of Israel and all this and that. We saw LeBron James with the Zionists, before he was declared to be a billionaire about a year or two ago. So they own our athletes, bro. They own our athletes. They own our actors. They own our politicians. Jasmine Crockett, and I don't know if this is true. Much respect to the sister because she's running for Senate. I hope she wins, although I really haven't seen enough being done for black people. Too much celebrity, not enough service, in my opinion. But I'm going to be patient with my sister. Give her some time. Too much celebrity. Too much celebrity. Where's the substance at? But I'm going to give her some time. She wants to be a senator. I say let's vote her in. The people who have to vote for her from her state of Texas. And let's see what the sister does. I'm not impressed because I'm just seeing too much celebrity, not enough substance. You know what I mean? But she is being asked and she is being accused, not proven, Art, accused of also being a flunky for the Zionists. They said she voted on a couple of policies that were favorable to Israel and what they were doing over there to the Palestinians in Gaza. You know what I mean? So again, I'm still studying, I'm still searching, I'm still waiting, but some people are saying that she too is under the control of the Zionists. So again, the question is, what black people are actually free to serve black people? Because if you're taking orders from Israel, you definitely don't care about black folks in America because they don't. And I'm still waiting for somebody to finally hold the Israelis and European Jews responsible for their role in the transatlantic slave trade. They did not play a minor role in our slavery. They played a major role in our slavery. And if they're going around expecting everybody to pay homage to them for what they went through at the hands of Hitler's Germany, and I don't have a problem with that at all, what happened to them was wrong. But if people should honor you for what you've been through, and if people should be held accountable for what they put you through, you should also be held accountable for what you put African people through. They sold us. They insured us. They built the ships that sold us. In fact, Jewish slavery, Art, was so bad that they used to sell black people out in front of synagogues in Europe. They were selling us in front of their Yes, sir. This is documented. Black people were sold in front of Jewish synagogues and in some cases, allegedly inside of Jewish synagogues. So, I have a problem with people constantly reminding the world that they were mistreated when you participated in our mistreatment and you have never apologized for it. You have never offered any reparations for it, and you have never been held accountable for it. And I can't, agree with that. But the Dave Chappelle Netflix stand up, definitely a must see. Definitely a must see. He brought up Dr. Sabi in there. It was good. It was good. I really thought it was. I really thought it was good. Couple times caught me off guard a little bit, but overall it was excellent, and I think everybody should watch it. It's one of the most unapologetically African comedy stand-ups I've seen in a long time.
It sounds like you like Dave Chappelle. The only issue you got with him is him dating outside his race, but for the most part, you rock with him.
I like Dave. Dave got a good spirit. Yeah, my only issue with Dave Chappelle is he went outside of the community for his wife. He went outside, just like Richard Pryor did, just like Eddie Murphy did. A lot of the comedians, I don't know what it is, but it might just be black male celebrities in general. But a lot of the comedians, the more popular ones, they went outside the community for their wives. Yeah, but he's definitely unapologetic. Most black comedians are not going to say the things that Dave Chappelle said in that stand-up. And I got to respect him for it. I got to respect him for it. Before watching that stand-up, I had Cat Williams as number one in terms of being unapologetically black on the microphone in front of white people. Cat Williams was number one. But after watching Dave the other night, Cat moves to number two and Dave moves to number one in terms of political courage on the comedic microphone. Everybody should watch the Dave Chappelle Netflix special.
How you feel about this F the Streets movement that's going on right now?
F the streets. F the streets. Here's what I think about the F the streets movement. First of all, I support 21 Savage in starting this movement. Somebody had to have enough courage to say that this lifestyle that we've been selling to poor black children, this lifestyle of drug dealing, going to jail, murdering other black people, is not a benefit to our community. So I support 21 Savage. Now, some people are saying he only said this because of some allegations of snitching by him or people in his camp. I don't follow that stuff, so I don't care about it. But even if it came as a result of that, it needed to be said, Art. And I think Boosie responded, and Boosie Badass said, if you're going to say F the streets, stop rapping about it in your music. I can agree with that too. If we're going to say F the streets, and we do need to say F the streets, maybe not in that language, maybe let's evolve from the streets. F the streets might have been a little bit too strong, although I don't have a problem with it. But Boosie said, if you're going to say F the streets, you got to stop rapping about the stuff you rapping about. I agree. If we turning our backs on it, let's change our music. And I'm hoping, Art, that from this movement that 21 Savage has started, that there could be a movement to reclaim hip hop for the positive in our culture. You follow what I'm saying? Let's get away from the drug dealing. Let's get away from the sexual objectification of our women. Let's get away from the glamorization of money and useless merchandise. Let's get away from the conflict, the beef, the murder. Let's get away from the mass incarceration. I'm all for it. Now, when I look at the backlash that 21 Savage and others who are supporting him are getting, Art, when I look at the backlash that 21 Savage and others are getting for supporting him, Art, it seems like they're misconstruing what the man is saying as being indicative of him turning his back on what he learned from the streets, or turning his back on those positive relationships he might have built in those streets, or turning his back on the value of the experience that he had in the street. I don't see it like that, Art. I don't see it like that. That's just like if I went to jail, Art. If I went to jail and I met a couple old heads who put me on game, or if I went to jail and I became a best friend with one of the brothers in there, or if I went to jail and I took that time to write a book and I got out of jail and that book made me a millionaire, that doesn't mean jail is a good thing. Just because I had some good experiences in jail, just because I might have learned some things in jail, just because I may have built some lifelong bonds in jail, that doesn't mean prison is a good place. You don't have to throw out the baby with the bathwater. Art, that's just like if you join the U.S. military and the U.S. military sends you to Iraq or Afghanistan or Iran to fight. And while you are over there, you learn some survival skills. While you are over there, you develop some long-lasting bonds. While you are over there, you might meet your wife. While you are over there, you learn another language. Those were good things, right? But you would still say war is not good. And I don't want nobody to go to war. Even if you learn some good things in prison and had some good experiences in prison, you can still say, Art, prison is not a good place. So what I would say to all my brothers in the street, who I love and respect from coast to coast, and I get a lot of love in the streets, right? And I'm probably the most popular scholar of the brothers and sisters in the streets. But I would tell them, I don't believe the brother 21 Savage and those of us who stand with him, I don't believe what they're saying is forget the things that you learned, forget the people you met, forget the experiences you had. They're not saying that. You can always get some good out of something bad, Art, but at the end of the day, being in the streets does not benefit Black America. And let us back up for a minute, Art. Do we control anything in these streets that we claim it? I mean, do we control the hospitals we go to when we get shot? Do we control the supermarkets we buy the food from? Do we control the schools that's miseducating our kids? Art, let us not forget that the white man created the ghetto, not the Black man. The white man created the ghetto. When our ancestors came up north during the Great Migration, because white men had to go to prison, the government withdrew all the resources out the inner city. That's what turned it into poverty. That's why we had to sell drugs. That's why we had to hustle crack. That's why we had to steal cars. That's why we had to hustle credit cards. That's why we had to beef over territory to feed our families. The ghetto in the streets was born of desperation. It was born of trauma. It was born of panic. Black people didn't come to the inner cities in the northern states and even the southern states and say, let's create a ghetto culture. That culture was created for you. The Kerner Commission, 1967. What did the Kerner Commission say? The commission that was put together by Lyndon Baines Johnson to study the cause of the great race riots of 1967. They said, what white America doesn't understand and what Black America can never forget is that white America is deeply implicated in the ghetto. This was a presidential report, Art. White America is deeply implemented in the ghetto. They said white America created the ghetto, white America maintains the ghetto, and white America condones the ghetto. And here's the last thing I'll say on that, Art. Here's the last thing I'll say on that. The reason why some of our brothers in the streets are not ready to spin the block into something more positive, Art, is because their entire identity as a man is tied into these streets. You got to realize, Art, for some of our brothers, they were given no opportunity to get out. So everything they are is tied to them streets. So in their opinion, if you say F the streets, they take it as you're saying F them. And that's not the case at all. See, remember, Art, the only system where Black men have some control is the ghetto culture. The only system where Black men have some power is the ghetto culture. The only system where the white man, because it's a white man system, let's be clear. The ghetto is a white man system, but Art, it's the only system where you can look like you have some power. It's the only system where you have some autonomy as long as you don't get caught or killed. As long as you don't get caught by the police or killed by a rival, the ghetto system, the poverty system is the only place that the white man allows the Black man to acquire some degree of control. He will let the drug dealer operate for a while. He will let the credit card scammers operate for a while. He will let the clothing designers knockoff hustlers operate for a while. You see, he'll let the car thieves operate for a while. So in that ghetto culture art, a black man who never been in charge of something can feel like he's in charge. A black man who never had no power can feel like he has some power. A black man who's never had any authority can feel like he has some authority. Because remember now, a lot of us grew up and we saw the drug dealers. They were the kings of the hood, the flashiest cars. We didn't see that on Wall Street. We didn't see that in the public school. We didn't see that in the government jobs. We didn't see that in the community stores. The only place we saw a black man who looked like he was in charge and had it going on was those who was committing crimes, because that was the only thing the white man left him to do. So for a lot of black men, Art, they think this is the only way I can achieve power is illegally through the streets. And if we're going to say F the streets, and we should, let's create another ecosystem, Art. Let's create another ecosystem that allows black men from the streets to transition into a legal career or business opportunity in which they can feed their families. Because guess what, Art? At the end of the day, if you're not giving black men an opportunity to feed their families legally, the streets ain't going nowhere. The streets ain't going nowhere. So I'm hoping 21 Savage will convene a conference, Art, where he sits down with other entertainers and black celebrities and say, listen, if we want this movement to have some teeth, let's create an economic ecosystem that help these brothers transition from the corner until they own LLC corporation. From the corner to the corporation. That's the next move for 21 Savage. And if he needs Dr. Umar to come in and motivate these brothers to move from the corner to their own LLC corporation, count me in, 21 Savage. I'll help you. Because we need this, Art. We don't need to see another mother crying. We don't need to see another dead black man. We don't need to see another incarcerated father. We don't need to see another drug addicted girl or boy. We don't need to see another homeless person. If we're going to say F the streets, let's create that corner to the corporation movement. Black power.
DK Metcalf, how you feel about him getting suspended for the last 2 games of the season?
The DK Metcalf situation is another example of how white privilege operates even amongst the rich and famous. We just saw what happened with Sherrone Moore getting fired, but the Snow Bunny keeps her job even though she helped destroy his career. Now we got DK Metcalf. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Detroit Lions. And I didn't watch the game, but I saw the clip of DK Metcalf having words with a fan. That fan allegedly called him the N-word. And I also believe he called him a coon. And I also believe he disrespected DK Metcalf's mother. And so DK Metcalf took a swipe at him. Now the white media is saying he punched the kid. Come on now. If DK Metcalf would have punched that young man who was not a child, I think he's about 28, 29 years old. If DK Metcalf would have punched that kid, he would have been out cold. His jaw would look like the guy who just fought Anthony Joshua, Jake Paul, if he would have hit that guy. He would have had a Jake Paul jaw. Okay, so DK Metcalf did not punch that kid. So the NFL, needing to protect white privilege, suspended DK Metcalf for 2 games. Which jeopardizes, Art, the postseason possibilities for the Pittsburgh Steelers. In order for the Steelers to make the postseason, they have to win one of their last 2 games. Something that would have been much easier if they had their star receiver, DK Metcalf, on the field. Or the Baltimore Ravens has to lose one of their last 2. So the Steelers have to win one of their last 2, or the Baltimore Ravens has to lose one of their last 2 in order for the Steelers to make the postseason. They are first in their division, but they still need that reality to take place. So this right here doesn't just affect DK Metcalf. It affects the entire Steelers organization. And we know that they were sending a message to black athletes, Art, and I'm going to tell you why. I kind of like Pittsburgh Steelers a little bit. Not as much as the Philadelphia Eagles, of course, but Pittsburgh has always been an all right team for me. There's a couple teams I kind of follow a little bit. Baltimore Ravens is one. I kind of like how they move. I'm an Eagles guy, but I like the Steelers a little bit. In the last two games, Art, if I'm going to be honest, I seen the referees cheat to try to help Aaron Rodgers get to another postseason. I seen the referees cheat to try to help Aaron Rodgers get to another postseason. So for the NFL to suspend DK Metcalf 2 games, knowing that they're jeopardizing Aaron Rodgers' postseason, I know that they was trying to send a strong message to black athletes that you better not touch these white people who pay their hard-earned money to come and watch you play. But here's the saddest part, Art. Not only does he get suspended for 2 games, he forfeits $550,000. That is a $500,000 he has to give up for this incident. And it still ain't over, Art. Not only is he suspended 2 games, not only must DK Metcalf forfeit $550,000, that's a $500,000, he also forfeits all $46 million. Let me say that again. $46 million plus in incentives that he would have earned had he completed his contract, Art. And the reason he has to forfeit that $46 million plus, his contract says he can only get the incentive money if he does not get into any trouble, which includes NFL suspensions. Look at that, Art. Look at that. They robbed this man of $47 million, an additional $550,000, suspended him 2 games, jeopardizing his team's postseason possibilities because this racist white kid was calling him names. And you know what makes this even more sad, Art? Let me tell you what makes it worse than this. This is not the first time DK Metcalf had an interaction with that fan. When he played for when DK Metcalf played for the Seattle Seahawks, they visited the Detroit Lions. And DK Metcalf complained to the team about that same racist white boy. He complained. He made a report. I don't know how thorough the report was, if it was official, if it was unofficial. DK Metcalf told the team about that same white boy when he was a wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks when they came to play the Detroit Lions. And guess what, Art? Nothing was done about it. The man told, Art, and the NFL did nothing about it. The Seahawks did nothing about it. The Lions did nothing about it. And now he's a Steeler. He runs it to the same kid, Art. And let's not act like this is a new thing with those white folks in Michigan. I don't know what it is about the Wayne County Caucasians. I don't know what it is about the Wayne County, Michigan Caucasians but let's go back to the Malice in the Palace. You remember that? November 19th, 2004. November 19th, 2004, the Indiana Pacers, Reggie Miller, Steven Jackson, Metta World Peace. Who else was on that team? Was Jalen Rose on the team? I think Jalen might have been there. I'm not sure that year. But it was Steven Jackson, Metta World Peace, Reggie Miller, and a few others. But anyhow.
Jermaine O'Neal. You can't forget him.
Jermaine O'Neal. There you go. Jermaine O'Neal.
Reggie Miller, and one of my favorite players. That's how I know.
Me too. And I think Reggie Miller would have been, instead of Steph Curry, I think he would have been the greatest shooter of all time. He just wasn't allowed to shoot as much. But so Metta World Peace files Ben Wallace for Detroit Pistons. And at that time, I'm a Pistons fan because I was a Rasheed Wallace fan from Philly. So wherever Rasheed Wallace go, I go. So, and they had Rip Hamilton from Coatesville, PA. And they had Tayshaun Prince, was also PA. So 3 of their starting 5 that won that title was Pennsylvania. Remember, Metta World Peace fouled Ben Wallace. They get into a scuffle. Metta World Peace goes and sits over on the scoring table. One of the Caucasians of Wayne County throws a beer at Metta World Peace. Metta World Peace runs up into the stands. The other Caucasian nation, when they start throwing chairs, they were spitting, they was throwing everything that they could do, but all the media talked about was how the black players, Jermaine O'Neal and Ron Artest and Steven Jackson, went into the stands. But Art, they was disrespecting them, calling them the N-word, throwing beers, food, spitting. You expected them to stand there and take that? So I don't know what it is about those white folks in Michigan, but they got a bad habit of disrespecting black athletes in that town. It ain't the black folks doing it. It's the Wayne County white folks. So the question becomes, what is the NFL going to do about this? Remember, Russell Westbrook has always championed the need for professional sports leagues to do something about the out of control behavior of these white fans. And let us be honest, Art, 75 years ago, what was they doing in them stadiums? Not playing football and basketball. White people was coming to witness what? Lynchings of black people. See, a lot of us don't know this part, Art. Somebody needs to let Nicki Minaj know about this part of American history. They would fill up stadiums and parks, Art. There's books on this. 100 Years of Lynching. You can read the Ida B. Wells books. You can read Without Sanctuary. Art, you have lynchings of black people that drew 30,000 whites. Let me say that again. You had lynchings of a single black person that had as many white people there as you would see at a Sunday NFL game, as you would see at a Wednesday night NBA game, Art. The original sport was the lynching. Before the NFL, before the NBA, before the NBL, before track and field, before hockey, the original sport of white America was the lynching of black men, to catch and to hang black men. So when I see these white people disrespecting these black athletes, Art, I have to remind our people that to a lot of them, we are nothing but monkeys, apes, orangutans, gorillas. They don't see you as a man. They see you as an object. Black men have been physically objectified just like black women have been sexually objectified. Let me say that again. Black male athletes have been physically objectified just like black women have been sexually objectified. And here's the thing, Art, that boy has not been punished. The white boy that called DK Metcalf out of his name, he has not been punished. In fact, at that game, Art, the security took him up to the security box, had a conversation with him, and guess what? Let him come right back down and enjoy his game. What kind of protection is that for the athletes? What kind of respect is that for DK Metcalf, who's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL? Art, if something isn't done about this soon, it's going to get out of hand again, because black athletes are tired of being disrespected by white people and being told it's not good sportsmanship to respond or react. And then the security within the stadium, they are too slow to react to these instances of racism and disrespect. And when they do react to it, they want to give white folks a smack on the hand. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes they get thrown out. Sometimes they do, but not all the time. Look at what they did to the brother's father who plays for the Indiana Pacers. What's his name? The star player, the light-skinned brother, mixed race, curly top, Indiana Pacers star. It's Tyrese Halliburton. When Tyrese Halliburton's father got in Giannis's face after they were eliminated by the Pacers, he was suspended from coming to any future home games. Why don't they react with the same urgency what white people are? If Tyrese Halliburton's father was a white man, he would have never got that suspension.
Oh, you know it.
When black people do it, it's treated completely different. When white people do it, they get a pass. And something needs to be done about it, because if you don't do something about it, especially in Michigan, especially in Detroit, those Detroit white folks, they a different breed. And they got a bad habit of disrespecting black athletes when they visit their city. So something needs to be done about it, or there's going to be another malice in the palace if something ain't done about that. Black athletes are getting tired of being disrespected and being told because you pay a lot of money and because you represent this city, you can't clap back. It better stop, because next time DK Metcalf might have to punch him.
Shedeur, how you feel about what he's going through right now?
Shedeur Sanders. Man, I've been a Shedeur Sanders fan since Colorado, bro. The way that young man handles the media, Art, He's a media genius. Shedeur Sanders is like Malcolm X of sports when it comes to handling the media. They can't get him emotional. They can't throw Shedeur Sanders off his square. They can't make Shedeur Sanders say things that he don't want to say. Bro, Shedeur Sanders is a beast on that microphone. He be making the reporters look stupid. Why would you ask me that? That's not the question to ask me after the game. I'm not the coach. I don't make the, and he just be so calm, so matter of fact. That brother should get an award for the intelligence and the self-control that he displays in front of the white racist media, man. He is truly a class act. I want to say this about the Shedeur Sanders situation. Without question, and we've talked about this before he went to the NFL, without question, Shedeur Sanders is being set up to fail as an act of revenge against his father. It's not Deion's fault. It's not Shedeur's fault. They just happen to be a father and son duo that has been extremely successful in American sports. They are self-confident, they are proud, and they don't kiss white people's ass. And because of that, they got to suffer for it. How in the hell, Art, do you send a rookie quarterback into a game and give him the wrong wristband with the plays on it? I've been watching football most of my life. I have never heard of a quarterback, especially a rookie, being sent into a game with the wristband that has the wrong plays on it, Art. You are deliberately trying to make this young man look like a fool. And I'm going to say this. Most people blaming the coach. Stefanski, I think his name is. Art, this ain't just the coach. This is the whole NFL power structure. The whole NFL power structure needs Shedeur to fail, because if he succeeds, Art, you have no excuse to deny him a starting job on an NFL team. You see how this works? If he fails, Art, we can say he's not going to be our starter next year because he failed. He didn't win enough games. He didn't complete enough passes. But guess what, Art? It's not working. Shedeur Sanders has the best rookie numbers in the NFL since he became the starter. Not the whole season, but since he became the starter, he has had the best rookie quarterback numbers in the NFL. And when he went head to head with Caleb in Chicago, he outplayed him. And shout out to Caleb. I respect the brother. But Shedeur outplayed him. And when he went head to head with our brother Cam Ward, who I respect, he outplayed him. So the NFL has a problem on their hands, Art, because they want to prevent Shedeur from becoming the same star on the field that he is off the field. But the numbers clearly show that he's better than most. You heard Miles, what's the brother's name? Miles
Garrett.
Miles Garrett. He said that throw that Shedeur made, that first start across the field, he said, ain't too many quarterbacks that can make that throw. And then remember when they was going to do the 2-point conversion? After they scored, the coach pulled Shedeur out the game. He's hot. You pull him out the game and run a trick play and y'all lose the game. I'm telling you, I believe that coach has the full support of the NFL. They have made it their business to destroy Shedeur's career. But my advice to Shedeur, stay focused. Keep doing what you're doing. I do believe his ancestors are with him, and I do believe the Almighty God are going to see to it that he gets his redemption. And Shedeur Sanders is going to get his redemption on an NFL field. I absolutely, positively believe that, Art, because they're doing too much to stop him. But I'm going to go back to what I told you last time. Deion and Shedeur. Although I think Shedeur going to beat this, I truly believe that Shedeur is going to overcome this. But if by chance he don't, I think the Sanders family has a hell of a lawsuit, bro. Going back to the draft, Art. This has been since the draft all the way to now. Complete sabotage and collusion on trying to prevent this young black man from having a successful NFL career. You're not going to tell me this ain't a multi-million-dollar lawsuit, but I know Shedeur not looking at that, Art, because he just wants to play. He don't even care about that money. He making enough money off the field. Shedeur, like, I don't need the lawsuit money. I just want to play. And I just hope he gets his chance. And I do believe he's going to win because he's too good of a kid, man. I believe Shedeur is going to come out on top. He just got to stay focused. And so far, the brother been doing a great job. So my prayers out to him. My prayers out to his father and to the whole Sanders family.
But why they so scared of him becoming a star? Why they holding him back?
Let's go back to the slave plantation. Good question. Let's go back to the slave plantation. On the plantation, Art, if you let one slave run away, this is why the slave master always sent trackers after the runaway enslaved African. People say, well, if you got, let's take Thomas Jefferson. He had 400 slaves. If one of them ran away, he would send the whole slave tracking power after that one runaway African. If you got 400, Art, why you care? Because if that one makes it, the other 399 enslaved Africans are going to also start thinking they can be free. If Shedeur turns this into a successful career, and I have no doubt that he will, guess what, Art? All the other young brothers in college, you know what they saying? I'm not kissing no more white ass either. I'm not kissing no more white. If Archie Manning can be bold, if the white quarterbacks coming out can be bold, if Peyton can be bold, I can be bold. So in order to keep black athletes in their place, Art, especially the quarterbacks, we got to destroy Shedeur. Or should I say, we have to try to destroy Shedeur to put fear in the others. This is Willie Lynch, Art. What did Willie Lynch say? To control your slaves, you must put fear into the man. If you turn the big black athlete into a coward, if you make him afraid to disrespect white power, if you make him afraid to get out of line, guess what? All the other blacks will fall into line as well. This is a Willie Lynch tactic that they're trying on Shedeur to control the behavior of all future black NFL draft prospects.
How you feel about Venus Williams getting married to a white man? She from Compton, right? If I'm not mistaken.
She's from Compton. She's marrying a white man, like her sister. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to be very tactful, Art, because I know what Venus and Serena had to go through. And let's also remember, Venus was out there first. She paved the way for Serena. A lot of people forget that. Even though Serena is the greatest tennis player of all time, even though she's starting to get some competition with Coco Gauff and some of these others, shout out to them and the racism that they have to deal with every day. But remember, Art, white people were calling Venus and Serena monkeys, apes, animals. They were not put out the tennis matches. Remember, there were white people asking for Serena Williams to be tested to make sure she was not a man. They were calling her a transgender, Art, on the field, bro. So imagine, and I don't know what their self-esteem was like before they started playing tennis. Think about that. Their father was a strong black man, but we don't know what their self-esteem was like before that. We don't know who else influenced them. So you got these two young black women, trailblazers, kicking ass all over the tennis world, being disrespected about their hair, their body, their beautiful chocolate skin, their lips, their nose, their buttocks. I love both of them sisters. I love them both, Art. It hurts my soul to see Serena Williams marry outside the race, but I know why she did it. She had been made to feel unattractive. Venus and Serena were the victims of psychological trauma at the hands of white America that Nicki Minaj loves so much, that she says she's so proud of. It was this America that did that to Venus and Serena. White people traumatized them two sisters, Art. And that's why, although I don't agree with Venus's recent decision to marry a white man, I don't agree with Serena's decision to marry a white man, at the end of the day, Art, these two women went into a hostile, white-dominated sport and took it over. And white people never forgave them for it. And in doing that for us, this is how I look at it, Art. And Venus and Serena sacrificing their childhood and their adulthood to show black girls what was possible on the tennis court. The collateral damage was their self hate. And in order to rescue their self esteem, they married outside the race because neither one of them wanted their children to look like them. And they didn't want their children to look like them because they didn't want their children to be subject to the same type of ridicule and hurt that they suffered. I'm not giving an excuse because it's unacceptable, but I am giving a psychological explanation for Venus and Serena's behavior. If I saw them walking down the street, Art, I give them both a hug because I love what they did for black girls and black women. I love them sisters. I would hug them if I saw them tomorrow, but I would still tell them, I'm still disappointed at you for bunny hopping. No ice, no rice, no spice, no sand, and no salsa.
And I saw where you said that it was 4 women in your inner circle that you feel like the government sent to get information from you. Can you speak on that?
Well, yeah, there are 4 women, and they're all black, of course, who I believe were sent to infiltrate me and my movement. Uh, 2 of them, I would swear on it. The other 2, I'm fairly certain, but not exact. But yes, because you got to remember, Art, they watch all of us. COINTELPRO is not over. It just changed name. They watch all of us. And I know they watch me because I'm the most popular black personality, conscious scholar, activist, organizer in this country, and one of the most throughout the world. And so I know they watch me. And I have no vices. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't party. I don't club. I'm unmarried, Art. My only political weakness, if you would, vulnerability is I'm unmarried. So if we're going to get Dr. Umar, we got to send in some hood rats or some sophisticated sisters to try to weave their way into his confidence and bring him down. And I've had my bouts with that, okay? Women who try to weave their way in and try to tear me down. But I'm still standing because I got a job to do for the ancestors. I just have to be more careful with how I move because they're watching and they're coming and they're not going to stop, Art. You know, next year, Art, January 1st, is the first year of the second quarter of the 21st century. It's the first year of the second quarter of the 21st century. We did nothing as a people collectively for ourselves, Art, the first quarter. From the year 2000 to the year 2020, the first quarter of the 21st century, what have black people achieved? I ain't see a hospital. I ain't see a supermarket. I ain't see a real bank. And I ain't see a real independent school yet in 25 years. I don't see no manufacturing. I don't see no distribution. I don't see no community defense. We do have our defense organizations, but I haven't seen them come together yet and create a national system for community patrol. There's a lot we need to do, Art, that we better do. And if we don't do it, I'm not sure if we survive the second quarter of the 21st century. When 2051 rolls around, especially we keep on getting people like Candace Owens and Nicki Minaj, jumping ship for what they think they can get from the power structure. This is going to be a hard 25 years, Art. This 25-year period that begins on January the 1st of 2026 until January the 1st of 2050, this is probably the most critical 25 years in Black America since 1850 to 1875. And that's the period of abolition to Reconstruction. This is as critical as that. If we don't survive this, we will be a permanent underclass going into the third quarter of this century.
I never got to ask you how you feel about that situation with Chauncey Billups.
Oh my gosh. That NBA gambling investigation is a cold scam, Art. And I personally believe that Chauncey Billups is being framed. I think there's way more white folks involved than ever could be black, but they're not going to expose it. And I think the reason why they did this was for threefold. Number one, Art, there's gambling. There's illegal gambling in the NBA and the NFL. It's done by the owners. It's done by the coaches. It's done by the front offices. It's done by the execs. Everybody gambles, but they're not going to do nothing about it. So to give the appearance to the public, Art, that they're cracking down on gambling, they decided to do what? Go after the lowest man on the totem pole. To make the world think we don't know that there's illegal gambling going on in our sport, let's go frame and arrest, charge, convict, and destroy the lives of a couple black coaches and a couple black players. That's what this was, Art. A couple brothers gambling, doing what they do. The mafia have been doing it for years. They still run gambling. The sports teams run gambling. Everybody gambles, Art, not just black players. Where the white folks at? And remember, Art, when the FBI brought the indictment, they also said the Italian mafia. Why haven't we seen no mafia people arrested? Why haven't we seen any mafia faces on the news? Why haven't we heard anything from Kamala Kash Patel, FBI Director Kamala Kash Patel? Why haven't we heard anything from him lately about the role of the mafia in this illegal gambling conspiracy? You mention the mob. You mention them. Why haven't we heard about them anymore, Art? You know why? Because they work with the power structure. Remember, the United States government wanted to hire the mob to kill Dr. King. There's an audio on YouTube, Art. You got to find it. It's one of the leaders of the 5 families of the mafia. I forget which one. This is in the 60s, where he admits it. He was being taped. He said the FBI came to us and wanted to hire us for the Dr. King murder. And we said it was too messy. We don't want to get involved. They used the mob to flood the black community with cheap dope, Art, to neutralize the black power movement of the 60s and 70s. So we know the government and the mob work together. So why would you mention them, Kamala Kash Patel, and not give us a single name of an Italian mob member anywhere in America that was tied to this conspiracy for which you're trying to destroy the lives of Chauncey Billups and others? This is wrong, Art. They did this to distract from the fact that there is gambling, but they want the world to think that they don't tolerate it when they do. Chauncey Billups was a fall guy and a scapegoat and a mule. That's what he was. This is wrong, Art. I don't like it at all. And they're also doing it, Art, because the greed of the gambling houses, they don't want black people to make a single penny off gambling, Art. Let's go back to the 1920s. Remember Madam Stephanie St. Clair, Harlem, New York, Bumpy Johnson? Black people have run, Art, some of the most successful illegal gambling operations in American history. Black people have run some of the most successful illegal gambling operations in America, Art. Remember, Meyer Lansky, Lucky Luciano, they had black people working for them because black people ran the gambling better than them on the streets. You feel me? So the power structure, Art, wants to make sure black people cannot rise again financially through illegal gambling. That's another reason why they did this. But the biggest reason why they did this is to distract. They used those brothers as a scapegoat and a Ponzi to distract from the fact that there's illegal gambling in all the sports, but they don't want the world to know that they know about it. So what do we have to do? Act like we are against illegal gambling in our sport and take down a couple black men who don't have any power.
And I know as of late, you've been very, very adamant about telling men to have sexual discipline.
Black men have to be disciplined sexually because, number one, what's the greatest stereotype in American history? The greatest stereotype in American history is black men are like sexually uncontrolled animals. And if we ever get access to a Caucasian woman, we will take advantage of her. Art, Do you know why marijuana became illegal in America? I want you, when you get some time, I want you to do the research on why cocaine and marijuana originally became illegal in America. And guess what? Both of those substances, cocaine and marijuana, originally became illegal because white people believed that when black men got intoxicated with cocaine and marijuana, we would lose all sexual discipline and we would go after white women. Do your research. That's the original reason for why those drugs were outlawed. When we were under their influence, white people propagated a myth and a lie that we became sexually uncontrollable and we put white women at risk. Remember, the first motion picture in American history art was what? The first modern movie was Birth of a Nation. I forget the year, 1916, 17. The president of the United States had a private screening of Birth of a Nation at the White House. And what was Birth of a Nation about? All these free black men are now going to do what? They're going to chase after white women. And in the movie, because they didn't let black people play in the movies back then, white men in blackface playing black men was running around doing what? Looking for white women that they could sexually dominate and take advantage of, bro. The whole history of America is the history of believing that black men have a uncontrollable lust and a sexual rage for the white vagina. Segregation art. What is the foundational reason for segregation? To keep the black man away from the white woman, because if you don't, he will take advantage of her against her will and will produce mixed race offspring. Do the research on segregation. All the fathers of segregation in Germany, South Africa, London, America, I know them all. They were psychologists. And they said you got to have segregation to protect the purity of the white race. It's not that white women want the black men, it's that the black men can't but help themselves to the white woman, even if she doesn't consent. So as a black man, Art, you are always up against that. So these brothers who keep going after these white women because they got low self-esteem and need validation in order to feel like a man, they better look at the risk versus the rewards. Look at Sherrone Moore, Art. Look at this. This is insane. You was a $6 million a year man when the sun came up, and you was in jail and unemployed by the time the sun went down. Double snow bunny. And JD Vance is talking about we don't care about what color you are in America. He said, I love the fact that Nicki Minaj says we don't care what color you are. We care about who you are. That's a damn lie. If everybody was given equal opportunity, where's the white privilege? If everybody was given equal opportunity, where's the white control? Art, do you realize if you got rid of everybody's color and you only chose the best people, white people will lose their control over this society? You cannot protect white privilege and have a colorblind society. You have to practice racism. It's the only way you make sure your people stay in charge. This whole thing of reverse racism, how can black people be reverse racist? We don't control nothing in this society. How can I systemically discriminate against all white people? You can't. Racism is a group system. It requires that all white people participate. No white person does not benefit and support it. No black person is not victimized by it, whether you Sean Combs or DK Metcalf. Everybody's victimized by racism because it is a group system to do what? Control all the resources, control all the privileges, and control all the opportunities. That's all racism is. Domination of resources, opportunities, and privileges. In order for black people to be racist against white people, we have to be able to control the resources, the opportunities, and the privileges. In what institution, what sector of society, what business, what trade, what profession do black people control the resources, opportunities, and privileges. And to that point, Art, you saw what Donald Trump did, right? Donald Trump reclassified certain professions as non-professional for purposes of student loan eligibility. So if you are getting your degree, Art, in a professional discipline, you can get $200,000 of federal student loan money. You with me?
I'll follow you.
200. But if you are pursuing a degree in a non-professional area, you can only get $100,000 of student loan money. If it's professional, $200,000 of student loan money. Non-professional, $100,000 of student loan money. And look at the professions that Donald Trump has reclassified as non-professional for student loan eligibility. Listen to this: nursing, social work, occupational therapy, physical therapy, counseling, psychotherapists. He also put architects and engineers. Art. Except for architects and engineers, almost every other career that Donald Trump unclassified as professional, although black people are still underserved and underrepresented, Art, there's more of us in those professions than others. Nursing, Art, we're still underrepresented, but there's more black people in nursing than other professions. You follow me? There's more black people in social work than other professions. There's more black people in counseling than other professions. There's more black people as occupational therapists and physical therapists than other professions. So the reason Donald Trump, Art, declassified them or unclassified them as professional is to limit the amount of black people who can access enough money to pay for those credentials. And Donald Trump is talking about we don't live in a racist society when Donald Trump is deliberately trying to reduce the number of black nurses, deliberately trying to reduce the number of black social workers, deliberately trying to reduce the number of black OT and PT therapists. Because you know, Art, college is about making sure the workforce stays predominantly white. When I was in college, Art, I was a psychology major, obviously. And guess what? When too many black students wanted to be psychology majors, guess what my college did? They all do it. They upped the requirements for you to be in that major. See that, Art? They made it harder for you to get in once too many black people wanted in. They do this with everything. This is why they use these tests. They always want to test. You know why tests were created? Tests were created to exclude black people from certain professions and to deny them opportunity. And this is not conspiracy. This is fact. Look up a white man named Henry H. Goddard. Look up a white man named Henry H. Goddard. He's one of the fathers of the psycho-testing movement in America. Look up Cattell. Look up Alfred Binet in France. These are the white men who gave birth to the psychological testing movement, and they created this during eugenics to exclude black people from having babies, not just going to college. They use these tests to exclude black people from having babies, getting married, living in certain neighborhoods. This was bigger than just going to college, Art. So what Donald Trump is doing, he's practicing eugenics and higher education to turn nursing back to an all-white profession, although it is. From where they sit, too many black people are in it. Social work, turn that white. They need to whiten it back up. It's getting a little too tan. It's getting a little too brown, Art. And when I say brown and tan, I'm talking about black folks, not nobody else. They need to lighten it back up again. Racism, white supremacy every day, all day. The minute you think racism don't exist is the minute that racism no longer has to be accountable for what it does. See, the new racism, Art, is to act like there is no racism. That's why they got Candace Owens and Nicki Minaj running around telling people America the beautiful, America the great. I don't want to be judged by my color. If you really understand white supremacy, you understand white people can never not see your color. It's too much of a risk is too much of a threat. They are a numerical minority. They can never not see your color. In order to be in charge, I must control the others. And in order to control the others, I must control the color. One of the reasons they pushing the integration, the intermarriage thing right now. One of the reasons they pushing this on black people, get married to a white person, get married to a white person. They don't do this to nobody else. You don't see Indians in commercials with Mexicans. You don't see Mexicans in commercials with Arabs. You don't see Chinese in commercials with Latinos. You only see black people in commercials with white people. They're pushing this black-white romance, this snow bunny romance. Why? To lighten up the complexion of black people. So we get light enough art. You kill off the color in about 3 generations. The DNA is there, but the phenotype is gone after about 3-4 generations. And so then guess what happens? You redefine blackness out of existence. There's no more black. There's only biracial and multiracial. There's no more black. And black people are not even recognizing you're killing yourself. You're committing self-inflicted genocide through the snow bunny hop. Because if you have a baby with a white woman, and then that baby has a baby with a white woman, and then that baby has a baby with a white woman, 3-4 generations down, are you even identifiably black anymore? See how this works? Genetically, yes. Phenotypically, no. And what do we know about most mixed race blacks? They don't want to identify as black. They want to be seen as white or mixed race. So 20 years from now, Art, 25 years from now, 2050, the third quarter, they're going to pass a law and say, guess what? We only have 1% black people. Everybody else identifies as biracial, mixed race, quad race. We only got 1% black. So shut down the HBCUs, shut down the civil rights, shut down the black community. We don't have a black community no more. We have a mixed race community. I'm promising you, Art, by 2050, black may no longer be listed on a U.S. Census because we would have already whitewashed ourselves out of existence through the bunny hop. And don't get me wrong, I accept mixed race Africans. If you come to me and say, Dr. Umar, I know I'm super light black, but my mom is that black, or my mom is black, or my dad is black, guess what? I'm accepting you because I know nature knows no color line. But most of these mixed race kids are going to be raised by their white mama. She ain't giving them no black conscience, no black identity. They're going to pull the Amber Rose on you. And much respect to Amber Rose, but she says, black people told me I wasn't black. That's what she says. Is it true or not? I'm going to take the sister at her word. She says, I didn't choose to be mixed race. Black people told me I was mixed race. So there you have it. And you do have a lot of black people, Art, who don't accept mixed race. So since you don't accept them and you pushing them over there, that means they count against us. They count against you. They count against our population. 2050, Art, don't be surprised if Black American no longer exists as a racial category in America. And don't forget, you got the pretendians out there. Don't forget, I'm not from Africa. I was already here. I'm a Seminole, a Chickasaw, a Choctaw, a Cherokee. Don't forget them. They automatically remove themselves from the equation too. So let us keep on playing these identity games and this snow bunny game all we want. 2051, Black American may no longer exist as a category in this country because they're going to say y'all too mixed up. Y'all want to be mixed up. Y'all don't want to be black. Nobody wants to be black anymore. So get rid of the political designation. Trust me, Art, it's coming. And I hope I live to see it.
I never got to ask you about Hulk Hogan, but how you feel about him passing away?
The Hulk Hogan thing is real personal for me, Art. You want to know why? Because while I was studying Black consciousness in 4th and 5th grade in North Philly at the George G. Meade Elementary School at 18th and Oxford Street, I was a Hulk Hogan fanatic. I was the #1 Black Hulk Hogan fan in the world, Art. I was talking like Hulk Hogan. I had his shirts. Whenever Hulk Hogan came to the Philadelphia Spectrum to wrestle, I went to every Hulk Hogan wrestling match. I had the Hulk Hogan dial, the Hulk Hogan belt. I had more wrestling magazines than anybody else. I mean, he wasn't my only wrestler, but my parents didn't know no better, and they allowed me to idolize a white man. And look, so many years later, that white man I idolized as a child because it didn't last long. It was only elementary school, right? But that white man I idolized as a child ended up being one of the biggest racists in sports and entertainment. His daughter didn't even go to his funeral. And I don't speak ill of the deceased, but his daughter didn't go to the funeral. I don't know if that's because of his bigotry against blacks or for other reasons. But nonetheless, it was very disheartening to find out that Hulk Hogan didn't even like black people. Look at all the money black people put in his pocket, Art. Look at all the money. Those wrestling matches I used to go to, half of them was black. Black people was into wrestling heavy, Art, even though we found out later most of those wrestlers were racist. I didn't know how racist those wrestlers were until after I got out of it as a kid. I was done with it by late middle school. I was definitely done with it by high school. I had a good fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, maybe eighth. I had a good 4 or 5 year run with it, but I was Hawkmania everything, Art. And look at that. And this is going on today with black kids. We got black kids idolizing white people, football players, basketball players, actors, Marvel comic heroes. They're going to find out 30 years later, they couldn't even stand black people, just like Hulk Hogan. I'm telling you, Art. What are the 3 rules of racism? All white people are racist. They may not be a bigot. Bigot means they hate you. I don't think all white people hate blacks. That's bigotry. I don't believe all white people hate black people. But all white people have a vested interest in making sure that people control the resources, the opportunities, and the privileges. All white people are racist. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, white people don't share power with black people. Never have, never will. And rule number 3, white people are ruthless when it comes to controlling blacks. If I gotta invent AIDS, I'll invent AIDS. If I gotta push LGBT on your kids to destroy your community, if I gotta drop off crack, if I gotta drop off guns, if I have to overthrow and assassinate, I will do that as well. Those are the 3 rules of racism, and every black person needs to understand what they are.
What you think about the people that were celebrating that he died?
I don't think you should ever celebrate a person's death. I didn't celebrate Hulk Hogan's death. I didn't celebrate Charlie Kirk's death. I'm not going to celebrate the death of the next racist who dies. I don't believe in that. I think some things should be sacred. And for me, as a priest of the ancestors and African tradition, I will never celebrate anybody's death. I would never do that. And I would hope nobody would ever celebrate my death. Now, with that being said, Art, do people have a right to reflect upon your legacy honestly, but respectfully? Hell yeah. So if black people want to have a conversation about Charlie Kirk, the racist, respectfully, without poking fun at his death, I see nothing wrong with that. If black people want to have an honest conversation about Hulk Hogan without poking fun at his death, I don't see a problem with that. People have a right to look at your record after you're gone from this world and decide what place they want to assign you in history. If you are a public personality, you automatically forfeit the right to not be judged publicly. Judging someone and assigning them their proper place in history is not the same as mocking someone's death. I don't think you should ever mock someone's death.
I never got to ask you. We did so many interviews, and I never got your take on him. And I know he got a movie coming out next year. Michael Jackson. How you feel about him?
I'm a Michael Jackson fan. In fact, since we just spoke about Hulk Hogan, as much as I was into Hulk Hogan, brother, nothing compared to Michael Jackson for me. Remember, my mother named me after Jermaine Jackson. Remember, I was born Jermaine, not Umar. My father changed my name years later. I was Jermaine for the first 8 years of my life, right? Because my mother was a Jermaine Jackson fan. Because remember, Jermaine Jackson had a pretty good career. It didn't compare to Michael at all. But Jermaine Jackson had some hits. Jermaine Jackson was hot. He just couldn't compare to his younger brother. So I was named after Jermaine. But I was a Jackson 5 fan. And I was a Michael Jackson. Same thing, Art. I had every Michael Jackson jacket. I had the gloves. I had the shoes. I had the pants. I had the shiny socks. I had all the music. I had an S-curl. The glasses. Bro, I did the moon slide. We used to have Michael Jackson dancing competitions. I can still remember right now, Art, when Michael Jackson came to Philadelphia for his world tour. My mother would not buy me the ticket. I still remember now. If there's one thing you say, what's one thing You'll always remember that your mother didn't do for you. And I mean this in a light way. You feel me? Because it ain't no grudge or nothing. I love my mom to death, okay? To life. It was, if my mom ever said, what's one thing I did to you that you'd never get over? You did not buy me a ticket to the Michael Jackson concert. I never got over that, Art. I never got to see Mike live. And I wanted to see him live in his prime. You feel me? That was when Mike was Mike. That was Thriller. This is the height of Thriller, bro. But as I've said on so many occasions, Michael Jackson was a business genius, Art. He was a genius. He wasn't just a musical genius. Michael Jackson mastered all aspects of the music industry. Remember when Eminem dissed him and he bought Eminem's catalog?
Yeah, I remember that.
Michael Jackson bought Eminem's catalog when he dissed him, bro. Mike was gangster. And Mike was murdered because when Michael Jackson purchased the Beatles catalog, that automatically made him 50% owner of Sony Records, Art. Sony Records never forgave Michael Jackson for buying the Beatles catalog. They wanted the Beatles catalog back. So what did they do? They sabotaged Michael Jackson's last album, Invincible, which automatically put Michael Jackson into debt. They wanted Michael Jackson to satisfy his debt by giving up the Beatles catalog. And Michael said, no, I'm going to go on tour. Everybody wants to see me again. I'm going to go on tour, make this money, pay all off. And Michael Jackson made a mistake. He came back to LA to practice at the Staples Center, where another assassinated black celebrity, Kobe Bryant, used to play. And they murdered Michael Jackson. And that black doctor was made the fall guy. He only went to jail for a couple years. He's out now, I believe, and he's going to live happily ever after for keeping his mouth shut about how the music industry murdered Michael Jackson. And also keep in mind, Art, Michael Jackson was brought up on pedophilia charges as soon as he entered a bid to buy Marvel Comics. Michael Jackson was going to be the owner of Marvel Comics. Imagine if Michael Jackson would have produced a Black Panther movie. Imagine if Michael Jackson would have produced a Black Panther movie. The white power structure of America didn't want Michael Jackson owning Marvel Comics, so they set it up for him to be accused of sexual molestation. And remember, one of the white boys who he was accused of touching went on one of them talk shows, what was about 3 years ago? And what did he say? Michael Jackson never touched us. Our parents made us say that so they could get paid. They exonerated Mike. And you know what? I respect that white boy, Art, because he didn't have to do that. He did not have to clear Michael Jackson's name, but he did. He cleared him and said, Michael Jackson never touched me. My parents made us say that so we can get paid. Mike was murdered because he was too smart, too sharp. He owned Sony. Imagine that. Half owner of Sony and full owner of Marvel Comics. Most powerful black man in entertainment in the world, almost. He had to die because he wasn't going to stop. He just should have never came back to the Staples Center. And of course, we know they killed Kobe because Kobe Bryant was about to start his own sneaker company that was going to be owned by the players themselves. He was murdered in that helicopter crash with his daughter. Rest in peace to both of them. About 1 week before he was about to release the first Kobe ones of his own sneaker brand. I saw a picture of them too. They was hot. Oh, they would have outsold Nike. So they had to kill Kobe before he released that sneaker. And Kobe Bryant was going to start his own professional basketball association headquartered where? China, America's arch nemesis. And Kobe Bryant was the Michael Jordan of China. Michael Jordan was not more popular than no athlete. Kobe Bryant was the most popular athlete in the world in China. He was Michael Jordan in China. They could not let Kobe start that league, Art. The Chinese economy is stronger than the American economy. If Kobe Bryant would have took a basketball lead to China, America would have been done. Kobe didn't realize it, Art, but he was interfering with America's geopolitical and global aspirations. So Kobe had to die. They had to stop him from starting the league, stop him from coming out with the Nike. Whitney Houston was murdered because Whitney Houston was, she was going to order an audit on all her earnings. She felt like she had been robbed. She also wanted her masters back, and she wanted her publishing back. Jimi Hendrix was murdered, and they used the Snow Bunny to get him too. in a pool. Jimi Hendrix and Whitney Houston died almost identically. Almost identically. Jimi Hendrix, we found out his manager was British Secret Service MI6, who was a white supremacist who had already talked about possibly unaliving Jimi Hendrix because Jimi Hendrix wouldn't do what he wanted him to do. And Jimi Hendrix wanted to finance the Black Panthers. Jimi Hendrix was going to finance the Black Panthers. Sam Cooke was murdered because Sam Cooke didn't want to give the mafia control of his music, and he also was going to finance Dr. King and Malcolm X once they came together. So they killed Sam Cooke about 6 to 8 weeks before they killed Malcolm. They killed Sam Cooke and then they killed Malcolm because Sam Cooke was going to be the financier for Malcolm and Martin, who were about to come together. Nobody died for the reason they told you, bro. Nobody died. Tupac was politicizing the gangs in LA. Tupac had to die. He was too popular, too famous. His mother was a Black Panther, Afeni Shakur. Tupac was America's worst nightmare. They couldn't afford it. He had to die. And we found out later what? David Kenner, allegedly, David Kenner, I believe his name was, who was the president of Death Row Records. At least he was the attorney. They said he was an informant for the FBI, allegedly. They said it was informants all around Death Row. FBI informants all around Death Row, allegedly.
You looking forward to the movie?
The Michael Jackson movie?
Yeah.
You know it's not going to be an honest retelling of Michael Jackson. The only way that movie will be what it should be to properly honor Mike is if they tell the truth of the Marvel Comics purchase, if they tell the truth of the being part owner of Sony by way of his ownership of the Beatles catalog. If they don't deal with the music conspiracy against Michael Jackson, remember what Michael Jackson's mom said. Michael Jackson's mom said before he died, Katherine Jackson said, "My son told me they want to kill me for what I know." She said it. He came to me. He said, "Mom, they want to unalive me for what I know." Janet Jackson had already said she know they killed her brother. LaToya had already said she know they underlived her brother. He had at least one nephew who said, "I know they underlived my brother." Everybody knows Michael Jackson was murdered. There wasn't no medical mistake. He was murdered. That propofol that they use. Same thing they use with Prince, I think. And I think Whitney might have even had a little bit of that too. So that's what they be using. You can't, if you're going to be a black celebrity, you can't have any addictions or weaknesses, Art. They're going to use them. You can't. You can't love drugs. You can't love the party. You can't love weed, crack. Whatever you into, that's how they going to get you. Because remember, the FBI profiles everybody. The FBI got a profile on me, I bet you. He likes some 5'5", thick in the thighs with natural hair and coat. I know they profile me. They profile everybody. We just got to do the best we can because we behind enemy lines, bro. But we got to unite with African people around the world. Pan-Africanism is the only thing that's going to save us, Art. All this division, all this sectionalism, that's not going to do nothing for black people. We got to unite. I stand with my Trinidad and Tobago brothers and sisters. I'm hoping my sister Nicki Minaj come to her senses. I stand with my Sahel Alliance Africans, my Burkina Faso, my Niger, my Mali. I stand with my brothers and sisters in Asia, Australia, Canada, Europe, South Pacific. One race, one people, one. What Donald Trump say, America first. You know he got that from Marcus Garvey, right? Marcus Garvey said race first. Donald Trump said America's first. That come from Marcus Garvey, man. They taking our stuff and using it against us. And Nicki Minaj, does she know that some of the greatest Pan-Africanists came from Trinidad and Tobago? Stokely Carmichael Kwame Ture was Trinidad and Tobago. Henry Sylvester Williams, who convened the first Pan-African Conference, was Trinidad and Tobago. CLR James was Trinidad and Tobago. George Padmore, I believe, was Trinidad and Tobago. You had at least 4 of the greatest Pan-Africanists came from Trinidad and Tobago. So I need my sister Nicki Minaj to come back to the red, black, and green. Put down the red, white, and blue and come back to the red, black, and green. But I'm confident that she will. I love Nicki Minaj. I wish her nothing but the best. And I need her to get off of that Republican Party plantation. We don't need another Candace Owens. I know they're using you to neutralize Jasmine Crockett and Candace Owens. Nicki Minaj, don't do it. We don't need another. We don't need another Candace Owens. Please, sister, stop while you have time.
Dr. Umar, man. great interview, like always, man. Sensational, insightful. Dropped a lot of gems, man. Hey, man, we got to run it back soon. But most importantly, before we end it, let the people know what you got going on, man. And
Yes, sir. FDMG Academy. Make sure y'all support FDMG Academy. We this close, y'all. We this close. Hit your PayPal. PayPal.me/FDMG Academy. PayPal.me/FDMG Academy. Check a money order payable to FDMG Academy. P.O. Box 9634, Wilmington, Delaware 19809. Again, send your checks from all over the world. P.O. Box 9634, Wilmington, Delaware 19809, or paypal.me/FDMG Academy. If you need to reach me at all, especially my parents across the African world, if you need help with your children, autism, ADHD, learning disabilities, whatever the situation is, +1 215 989 9858, +1 215 989 9858, or Prince of Pan-Africanism at gmail.com. We spell Africa with a K. Prince of Pan-Africanism at gmail.com. We spell Africa with a K. Peace and Pan-Africanism.